This is the AM News. Let's begin from the Wa District Court, where they've remanded into prison custody prime suspects in the murder of the Jirapa Dubai owner. 4 other suspects were acquitted by the court, presided over by His Honor Maxwell Max Brain Titiriku. Now, Eric Johnson was found dead in a pool of blood at his private residence on February 11th. Rafiq Salam sat through the court proceedings and reports.
The standard room size of the Wa District Court was full to the rafters. Hardly one get a great space to walk through at the court. Leading the prosecution, Chief Superintendent of Police, Lawyer Abdullahi Ahmadu Ali Chao, first informed the court of the change in the charge seat and also prayed for 4 of the 7 suspects to be and acquitted. They are Michael Kuluge, Favor Nobe, Foster Dokuru, and Brian Makasim. Eliza Mahama Akwanyiche, 32, Belinda 26, and security guard Kwiku Kombata, 56, were covered slat with 2 charges: conspiracy to commit murder and murder. The 2 has however denied the charges leveled against them. Chief Superintendent of Police, Lawyer Abdullahi Ahmadu Ali Chao, presenting the facts of the case, disclosed that the prime suspect, Eliza Mahama Akwanyiche, who is the former human resource manager of Colorectal Hills Hotel, Judo, Dubai, was 9/2024, together with his girlfriend, front desk officer, Belinda, was sacked for allegedly having multiple sexual relationships with more than 4 female employees of the hotel, which resulted in infighting and unhealthy rivalry among the decision to sack 26-year-old Belinda Miller, who is a national service personnel. The prosecution further disclosed that Eliza Mahama entered the private residence of Eric Johnson on the night of February 10, 2024, scaling the fortified fence wall with the aid of an aluminum ladder. Available phone records to the investigators indicated that he placed several calls to his girlfriend, front desk officer Belinda Miller, whilst at the private residence, asking her where he could locate the MasterCard key to Mr. Eric Johnson's room. The first accused entered Eric Johnson's room, stabbed him multiple times, leaving him naked and in a pool of blood. The prosecution revealed that he also took an unspecified amount of money from the room and his private Nissan car key, using the car to go out of the crime scene and later abandoned the car at Ribazongo. Lawyer Ahmadu Ali Chao concluded saying they have incontrovertible evidence showing that the prime suspect, Eliza Mahama Akwanyiche, connived with his girlfriend Belinda Miller to kill the chief executive officer of the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel. The court, presided over by His Honor Maxwell Max Brain Titiriku, remanded Eliza Mahama Akwanyiche to prison custody, whilst Belinda Miller and Kweku Kombata to police custody and to reappear on April 15. The court also asked the prosecution to liaise with the Office of the Attorney General's Department to speed up their investigations. Lawyer Luwanga Bagonduri is the defense counsel for 3 of the suspects acquitted, and he shared his thoughts on the proceedings today.
That what has transpired today with the discharge of the accused persons, as the JUPO has said, that investigation is far gone and they are going to nip the suspects into the bud. We are pleased that these poor innocent young ladies and watchmen who have been discharged today would go home and relax. But I also want to say that the police in Ghana would definitely get to the bottom of this matter. If they are interested, and we the people of Upper West, and in particular Japa in general, will give them the encouragement, the support, they will nip the person who committed this clandestine act. It's a disgrace to Ghana, it's a disgrace to motherland, it's a disgrace to us in Upper West. Investors would now be scared of coming to this region. But I will also want to thank the Ghana Police Service for the investigation they have done so far. Usually, I don't comment on cases when they are in court. It's only when they are finished. And I'm not going into the merits of the case. In as much as one of my clients is still being held by the police, we are going to take steps to move and see how best we will have them also enjoy and be liberated.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, Joy News' investigations have revealed how first-year students of some senior high schools across the country are left with no option than to eat one meal for the entire semester due to acute shortage of food. Here's a report of excerpts of our documentary, Empty Plates, the situation of the Free Senior High School.
Under the policy, residential students are supposed to benefit from 3 square meals, while non-residential ones get 1 hot meal. But not only was the quantity of food served these children less than they expected, but 12 to 8 students are assigned to a jug of porridge or bowl of food.
The challenge has been that my daughter is constantly complaining that the food they are fed with is not enough. I've taken the pains to also provide enough food like gari and others that she can eat from her chop box. But it turns out that the school has drawn a timetable for visiting the chop box, so that there's some days that she cannot go to the chop box even though she has food, and they can also not provide her enough at the dining hall. So it's a challenge. Parents of this school have come together to get support for the school. So we contribute some amount of money. We're supposed to contribute twice in a term. That's 500 cedis for the first half, and the other half contribute another 500 cedis.
We tried to support, but because of government initiative, it's difficult. So for me, I sometimes, let me put in quotes, smuggled food to the school for my ward.
What food do you usually smuggle to your ward?
Oh, sometimes rice, sometimes fufu, sometimes omuti. I send it to the school.
Empty plates, the free SHS promise. We should really look out for that. Now, moving on, Minister for Transport, Kweku Ofori-Esiama, has been summoned to provide urgent answers to members of Parliament over an alleged charge of $10 and $20 by the Ghana Airports Company as maintenance fee. Former Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, who raised the issue on the floor, described the charge as illegal since Parliament had not approved the charge.
Public importance because what authority does the Ghana Airport Company have to impose fees and charges? And is these charges consistent with the Fees and Charges Act approved by the Parliament of Ghana? So, Mr. Speaker, I've seen a letter Ghana Airports Company signed Yvonne Nana Afriye Opare, Mrs. Managing Director. And, Mr. Speaker, I read it for the record. Further to discussions with the executives of Airport Operations Committee, AOC, regarding our baggage belt overhauling and maintenance issue, the Board of Directors of Ghana Airports Company, in consultation with Ministry of Transport, institutes maintenance charges of $20 on all-round airline trips and $12. Mr. Speaker, that will be cost to Ghanaian travelers from abroad to Ghana. Yeah, $20 on all-round air trips and $10 to be charged one way. And this fee will be effective May 1st, 2024. Mr. Speaker, I think that the Minister for Transport will have to be hauled by you to this House to explain the authority of the Ghana Airports Company and to explain to Ghanaians where he derives the authority and mandate from, and whether this is consistent with our Fees and Charges Act. We owe it to Ghanaians abroad and within, those of you who travel, that you should never be taken unaware on side charges. Mr. Speaker.
Member of Parliament for Inshaiso, Dr. Stephen Amwa, cautioned the minority against politicizing the move. He was, however, not opposed to calls to bringing the Transport Minister before the House to answer questions.
We are trying to adhere to our laws and rules in the country, which, of course, demand that such charges, of course, need the appropriate legal and policy approval, which we all support. I think some of the comments, I'm quite not happy with them, because my senior leader of the opposition party knows clearly that under this regime, I'm a member of the Finance Committee, he's talking about, we're taking steps to deal with all these challenges. He knows. It took us not a number of days, weeks, even if not months. So if we speak as if at present the country is highly taxed and stuff like that, Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised, because that statement is not in good faith. Do we have a time we say taxes are high or low? It depends on the fiscal space situation of our country, and he knows that. Mr. Speaker, what I can say is that I think we need to refer this so that the minister in charge will be given the appropriate opportunity to come and answer questions on that. But if we say that it should be just tomorrow, we don't even know his situation now. I think as a house, we need to adhere to the needed balance when it comes to our political interest and state issues. Other than that, I think I support what he's saying. But the fact that he's saying that the country is becoming over highly taxed and stuff like that, I always refer to them that between 2014 and 2016, 26 tax items were either introduced or increased. So they shouldn't talk about that. Mr. Speaker, tax issues, once and for all, we need to deal with them in our country, because it's one of the issues destroying our country. When NPC, they are in power and they are introducing taxes, NPP will say no. When NPP, they are in power and the NDC will say no, and the public will follow them. So we are failing to apply the needed methodology and policy direction and options in managing our fiscal policy. And then when we borrow to say that to GDP, so what do? How do we finance our programs? It is time that we put this political stance somewhere and build a new point of convergence as a country and stop recycling all these complaints. But other than that, I support that if indeed the airport authority is doing that, it is not in line with our laws, and we need to ask the minister to come and answer. But in doing so, let us eschew all forms of political interest as definitional elements that will draw in unnecessary complaints and debates that will not be very functional to what we want to do as a country.
The acting coordinator of the Gulf of Guinea Northern Region's Social Cohesion Project, Elizabeth Ohinewa-Ejei, has indicated that COSO project is working to ensure that the key drivers that propagate insecurity in the event of a spillover of conflict are addressed. She says her team is providing community-level social infrastructure, preparing the ground for an enabling environment to ensure businesses thrive. Martina Bugri reports.
The SOCO project is aimed at improving the social and economic resilience of the targeted northern regions in the Gulf of Guinea countries, namely Ghana, Benin, Ivory Coast, and Togo. This is to prevent spillover of conflict from the Sahel regions. In Ghana, the project is being implemented in 6 districts in the northern regions, and 48 MMDAs are benefiting. Elizabeth Ohinewa-Ejei said they are making sure that there is inclusion in all the selection of the project.
What SOCO actually does is trying to proactively address these issues by making sure that the key drivers that would propagate insecurity in the event of the spillover of conflicts are addressed. And these we are looking at addressing it from the point of providing community-level social infrastructure, also preparing the grounds or creating enabling environments for businesses to thrive in terms of the local economic development components, and also making sure that the youth are engaged and then social cohesion activities are actually being actively, or communities are actively engaged to make sure that social cohesion is achieved. If we say social cohesion is achieved, some of the things we are doing is actually making sure that there is inclusion in the selection of the projects that are being implemented, inclusion in vulnerable groups such as women, and even to the extent of herdsmen, disability groups being a part of the decisions that are being made to actually select these sub-projects. But when it comes to the actual state of insecurity, we cannot, because that is for the security personnel to decide. But what we are doing is making sure that the key drivers at the foundational level are being addressed, so that in the event of a spillover, the grounds are not ripe for violent extremist activities to actually thrive.
She said over 100 projects have been completed, and most of the rest are over 60% complete.
So, like I said, on average, we have about 63% completion across board. So we have about 110 of them currently that are completed. But we, of course, when it's completed, you just don't mark them completed. We'll have to go through the technical cycle of ensuring that all the technical feasibility studies or the technicians who are involved are able to mark them to say that it's been well done, it's been completed, all the liability that has to be done and corrections that have to be done by the contractors have been done. So that is the stage where the 100 and more that I mentioned are at. But all of them are at various stages of completion, most of them from 50% onwards. There are a few that are yet to start for technical reasons. But in the coming year, again, we are looking at the delivery of over 700 sub-projects in this regard.
In other news, vulnerable Muslim women at Old Tafo in the Ashanti region have received food aid packages on the first day of the holy month of Ramadan from Raman, Austria. Raman, Austria representative Saeed Tawir told Joy News that 500 households benefited from the initiative. The charity foundation says that it is required by Islamic teachings to assist the vulnerable.
Rice, sugar, cooking oil, and other goods were distributed to each household. An amount of 100 cedis was also given to each of them. Beneficiaries say they are appreciative for the assistance and that the package will help them since they are unable to afford this season. Sahada to Saeed believes the food staff will be extremely beneficial during the month of Ramadan.
We thank Allah for the food provided today for Ramadan. We are grateful.
The food supplies arrived just in time for Aisha Muhammad's family.
If I had not gotten these items, I'm not sure how Ramadan would have treated my family. The foodstuffs would be beneficial.
Vulnerable Muslim women, particularly widows, struggle to find permanent jobs to support their basic needs. Representative of Rahma Astra, Saeed Toyer, says they distributed the food in honor of the holy month of Ramadan, which is characterized by more charitable gestures and prayers.
As you can see, we are in hard times, and inshallah, this is meant to bless and to bring smile to the faces of the less privileged ones in the community. So this is the main reason why we are doing this event, to bless these people in this blessed month of Ramadan.
The food parcels are not the end of the group's assistance. They would continue to help disadvantaged women. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
And that's it for the AM News on the AM Show. Up next is the news review with me and my guest. Please stay with me. Welcome back on the AM Show. It's time now for the news review, and I've been joined by NDC parliamentary candidate for Efutu, James Kofan is my guest in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Kofan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure.
This is your second attempt as a parliamentary candidate for the constituency, Efutu.
Yes, this is my second attempt, and I'm hoping to be able to annex the seat for the NDC come December 7th.
Right.
Yes.
How is it looking?
It's looking good. I believe that the NDC has a track record in the constituency. Nearly every school that has been established in the constituency prior to 1992 was established by the NDC. The NDC is the party that extended electricity to almost every village in the constituency. So if you go to Iswechi, you go to Osubompe, Atetu, all those satellite communities were put on the national grid by the NDC.
Okay.
We used to have perennial water problem in the Futu constituency, and the NDC became the party or the government that solved the problem, and not only to solve the problem, but also extended water to all the villages that are in the Futu constituency. So if you go to a Futu constituency now, there is no community that has no water, and it is because of the NDC government that implemented the project. So the NDC stand tall when it comes to development projects in the constituency, and all the projects that the NDC has done are strategic projects. They are not a project that are not sustainable, like water, for instance. Once the community gets water, it will be there forever.
Good submission there.
Thank you.
I just asked how it's going, but you seem to have a lot of information on, where you're going and all that. Now, it's like a tradition here, before we get into the newspapers or the topics that we want to actually delve into. There are a number of things happening in the country. We're looking at the doctors at the Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital who are striking because the government seems to be turning a blind eye to their issues, accommodation issues. There's also the recent power cut issues. What topical issue would you like to share your opinion on before we get into the actual of the day?
I would like to look at the doctors' situation.
Right.
See, basically the story is that the doctors have been evicted because a private developer is coming to take over the land on which the bungalows are situated and they are living in. And the private developer is going to put up structures, in the estate. But it's an unfortunate situation that we have to come to this level. Why should it be that in this country now, everything that belongs to the government is being taken over by private persons, private interests, too unnecessary for their personal or parochial interest, instead of the larger interests of society? These are doctors who must have a place to stay and be comfortable to be able to look after the patients, their clients that comes to the hospitals. Now you are asking them to move out of their bungalows. You have given them ultimatum. So what should they do? They have to spend the time looking for accommodation in order for them to relocate their families and be comfortable. At the time they are looking for accommodation, what are you expecting them to do? Do you want them to be working as doctors in the hospitals when they are looking for accommodations? No. So obviously there's a problem here. Not long ago, we saw how the bungalows of the judges were pulled down, how the offices of the passport office was pulled down to make way for a cathedral. Now the cathedral is still sitting at the whole level or the dugout level. We could have allowed those bungalows to be there whilst we were planning for the cathedral. And I will not be surprised that this Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital situation will be similar. That these people will be evicted, the bungalows will be pulled down, and we will not see anything there. No, so it's rather unfortunate, and I support the Ghana Medical Association's stand that the government would have to put a stop to it. The doctors need the bungalows to live in order to be able to work, and there must be a proper consultation. I'm sure if there was a proper consultation between the hospital workers and government, we would not have come to this level.
Right. Yesterday we saw how some patients were even stranded at the hospital, outpatients, because there was no doctor on call. And so people's lives are in danger. And, standing on the edge of such a precipice, I don't know where we go from here.
But were you expecting them to come to work? Well, no, naturally, if you're evicting me and I have a family, I have children, I have to be able to settle my family before I come to work. And this is not even about strike. This is about the human quest to live and to have a place where you can lay your head. You came from home here, to work. If you didn't have accommodation, where would you have put up for the night and be able to come to work? So we don't expect them to come to work because you are giving them eviction notice. You get the point. Exactly.
Well, I was just trying to, let you understand that we've seen people who are stranded at the hospital, and it's not a pleasant sight. That is the state of our nation right now. But let's talk about your 24-hour economy policy, proposed policy, because you're also on the ticket of the NDC. Your flag bearer is saying that should he be given the mandate, he's going to turn our economy into a 24-hour system, sort of. How will this work in your constituency, in the people of Ifutu? I'm asking because I have a little background in Ifutu. I schooled in Winneba, so I see how the community is it's more seasonal. It comes alive seasonally. When there are students on campus, it's like the community is thriving. There are activities in town. But when the schools are on vacation, there seems to be not as much life in there. How will this 24-hour economy work in a place like yours?
You have honestly, rightly diagnosed Winneba. The economy of Winneba is very seasonal in many ways. The farmers, farming is seasonal, and we are fishermen, so fishing is also very seasonal, as you know. And we have this university that gives some vibrancy to the town when they are in school. But once they are gone, then the town becomes nearly empty, So we don't have much economic activities when the students are not in school. And that is why, as people of Ifutu, we are so excited about the 24-hour economy policy that the Jomama administration intends to implement. Because it will benefit us more than probably anyone.
How would it benefit you?
In my 2020 campaign, I did promise the people of Ifutu that I will establish a central market, Winneba Central Market. We have one market in Mankasim. We have another one in Aguna Shedro. Then there's one in Kaswa. Winneba sits in between. It's a junction. And we don't have any significant market in the town. And so I thought that once I establish that market, that will give some life. It will pull traffic to the town. Now, just a few weeks ago, the ex-president John Mahama, who is our flag bearer, came to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission event and pledged that, Pomazi Poultry Farm, that had been there for many, many years, it collapsed and was put on divestiture and was acquired by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission. So they own it. He pledged that he is going to assist the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission to revitalize the Pomazi Poultry Farm and bring it back to its old glory of employing mass number of the youth in the area and beyond. Now, if we have the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm, which is a stone throw away from each other, you are talking about an economic environment that is vibrant enough to attract traffic from all over the country, including Accra, Shedru, Bourgeoisie, Mankasim, and beyond.
But the actual implementation issues or ramifications of running a 24-hour economy, in simple terms, how would it work in a community where you've also agreed that it's seasonal?
No, so once we have that policy, the policy will come with regulatory environment.
Right.
What you can do, who gets incentive, companies that get in, the incentive that they will get, and so on and so forth. So once you have been able to establish the policy framework, then you are allowing private government partnership to establish businesses that will run within the confines of the 24-hour economy. And that's why I brought in the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm. And once they are established within the framework of the 24-hour economy, then you are talking about the Pomazi Poultry Farm producing and bringing their production to the Winneba Central Market and running it 24 hours.
Okay.
And once we have the university community also, because of the 24-hour economy, you know, student and unemployment situation in this country, a lot of these students, when they vacate, they don't have anything to do. They will decide to work within the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm, and they will be able to run this 24-hour shift, and the majority of the students will be able to get employment. And you know, when we were in school, in my days in Legon, a lot of students would vacate and travel to UK and go and do some shawo, 2 months, 3 months work and come back. Now you don't have to do that. You can conveniently get employment in the Pomazi Poultry Farm and the Winneba Central Market. And because of the 24-hour economy, more people can be employed.
We don't have enough time, so let's move on from this topic. The flag bearer has appointed Professor Jainano Opoku-Agyeman as his running mate, and we've had lots of opinions. Even your incumbent member of parliament and majority leader, Apenyo Makin, has said a lot about your choice of running mates. People have questioned his competency, experience. What's your opinion? Give me a sense of your thoughts when it comes to the choice of Jainano Opoku-Agyeman as the running mate come December 2024.
Well,
does she have what it takes
to give
NDC the power you're looking for?
Of course. His choice is strategic. You made mention of my member of parliament making comments about her. I don't want to go in that area. I'm told that she taught him in school. You know, there's a song that I know that has a refrain. It says, in tree, it says, so okosia kotonsuo na onyansani yinoa ne ho no na no so. Do you get that refrain? So okosia, you don't understand okosia?
What's okosia?
Okosia means foolish.
Okay.
When a foolish man falls into the waters, and a wise man comes to take him out of the water, whilst his body is drying, his mouth is also drying.
Explain.
That, you know,
how does it relate to what you're trying to say?
No, basically it means that when people are helped out of distress situations, after being helped, they forget the distress situation they were in, and they begin to talk as if they are of their own. They didn't need anybody's help to get to where they are. So as they are getting their freedom and convenience in life, they begin to talk big. That is the
where Bube?
Yes.
Benjamin and I do this thing where we, in this month, Ghana month, where we give proverbs, share proverbs in our local languages. But where Bube?
Yes.
And I don't think we want to get into who is Okwasie and who
No.
So,
I'm not interested
so
in
let's
that.
talk about the competency of your choice of running mate.
You know, Ghana has had a lot of women trailblazers.
Right.
We had the Professor Dolphins, who became the first woman professor in this country, and then went on to become the first female provost in this country. And we have had the Ama Atedus, the Efo Sutherlands. These are people who blazed the trail, you know, when we were growing up. But one person that has really done well in blazing the trail is Professor Nyaho Nyaho-Tamakloe, becoming the first ever vice president of a public university, vice chancellor of a public university in this country. And She did not just get there by chance. It was as a result of her competency that gave her that opportunity. And coming into the Ministry of Education, we all saw what this woman did. Across the country, look at the senior secondary school that was established in this country. Everywhere. In Central Region alone, we had 11 senior high schools. In fact, the administration of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman gave Central Region 18 senior high schools. At the time the president was leaving office, 10 of them had been commissioned. So this is a woman who has, in her own right, is very competent. Now, what is competency? What are we looking around? We are looking at somebody who was in the government of the NDC that left office with 4 cedi to $1 at the time they left office. Now we are looking at a vice president who so-called is an economist who is leaving office with over 13 Ghana cedis to $1. So how do we define competency here? For me, John Mahama has made a clear anti-corruption statement in the choice of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. This is a woman who became a Minister of Education for 4 years. A woman who became a Vice Chancellor of a whole university. Look at her lifestyle. Have you ever heard any corruption tag on her?
Well, we've not heard. Does not mean that it's not. I mean, we cannot say whether
she lives a very simple life. Very simple life as opposed to the opulence.
So she's the one to lead you.
She's the one,
John Mahama,
the right
to bring
person.
you the victory that you're looking for.
It is not only about victory. It's about the stability that her modest life brings to the tickets and brings to the government of the NDC. It is about the statement of the intolerance for corruption.
Do you think Ghana is ready for a female president?
Ghana is more than
because
ready.
John Mahama can only go 1 term.
Yes.
The onus falls on Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman.
We are not talking about presidency at this moment. We are talking about...
Well, in her position, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Yeah. And she qualifies. I know where you are coming from. The issue that have been put out there about age.
Especially when the president is absent.
You're talking about age issue. Yeah. That's what I know you are thinking about.
No,
because people have put out there. How old is Joe Biden of America?
80 something.
81 years. Yeah. Joe Biden is 81 years. Donald Trump, who is contesting Joe Biden, who was the president of America, is 77 years. How old is Jane? Jane is only 72 years. So age doesn't come in. And when you talk about the person to be the next president, if she so wishes, she's more than qualified. This is a professor you're talking about, right? Somebody who has gone through all the stages in academia in terms of being a lecturer and a senior lecturer and being a professor, associate professor, and a full professor. That's the person we are talking about here. So when it comes to whatever you would seek for in terms of competency, academic competency, she's there. But also somebody who has experience in administration. A dean of students, somebody who has been a pro-VC and has been a vice chancellor, and a minister of education. Don't cut me yet. Okay. But somebody who combines both and brings such a value to the confines of the NDC's John Mahama administration. Those who are in presidency right now, where were they before becoming a president? Our president who has failed the whole nation was just a lawyer and a minister. Right. The vice president who has failed, hopefully, and now running away from his own, expertise, was a deputy governor of Bank of Ghana. That is all. That's all her claim to fame. But we are talking about a vice chancellor and a minister and somebody who is a trailblazer, in whatever you will term it. So Nana, we celebrated, and the entire NDC celebrated for her choice. And we know why we celebrated. We know what she's bringing on the ticket. You are a feminist. You are a woman advocate. All the women advocates in this country must now join Nana to have the first ever female vice president of this country.
This makes me want to play the devil's advocate and ask you this question.
Yes.
No, no malice intended, right? You know the politics we play in this country. It's down dirty sometimes, where politicians call out, their opponents, call them names, dress them down, ridicule some of their initiatives and stuff. If Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman was not a woman, the comments Apenyo Markin made about how old this person is, do you think that you would have taken it as seriously? You would have made such an issue about this as you're making because she's a woman?
You see, I don't want you to drag me into that dirty arena.
Okay.
Apenyo Markin has put himself
right.
in. Because you see,
I'm just wondering if
I was born by a woman.
It would have been the same.
It wouldn't
issue.
be the same. That's why I'm so disappointed, my sister.
Right.
I was born by a woman. You were born by a woman.
I am a woman.
You were a woman. She was born by a woman. You understand? So why would you even go there? And you are a majority leader. We expect more decency from your mouth, from your lips. We expect more decency from your office. We expect you to know better. But as I said, so okosia kotonsuo na onyansani kodina ne wono na no so wo. And I also add one. That you see, he who the gods will destroy, he first makes them mad. I'm sure you have heard of that proverb when we were in school. I mean, I think one of the Shakespeare's writings, he who the gods will destroy first makes them mad. So allow those who want to tag her and ridicule her, allow them the chance. But those decent minds in this country, discerning minds, would know and appreciate that a woman who has 3 children, all her children are in positions of decency, some even outside this country. A woman who has gone through the same competitions that men present to women. You see how it is on a university campus.
We have to move on.
And finally become a vice chancellor and a running mate, the first ever running mate of the 2 major political parties. You make such a comment about her. Is that? Are you okay?
Okay, so let's get into the newspapers. Personally, I appreciate the woman because she's the first to do what she's doing in her position. So honestly, no malice intended. But it's good that you shared your opinion on that bit. In the Daily Graphic newspaper, on the front page, it says the 50,000 people to receive job skills. That is the launch of the Ghana Apprenticeship Program by Vice President. The story is on page 3 of the Daily Graphic. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Dr. Fred Cheya, those who were present over there, launched a comprehensive program to provide a competency-based training to about 50,000 individuals, which was launched in Accra. They're saying the primary goal of the Ghana Apprenticeship Program initiative is to be overarching program providing apprenticeship training tailored to the demands of the contemporary jobs and fostering a bridge between traditional apprenticeship systems and modern systems of education. We know that the gap in the skills set, or the demand and supply, the discrepancies between demand and supply when it comes to the skills we need and the jobs available in this country, or even industrialization, apprenticeship, whatever, is huge. And so would you say this is a good initiative? Would you say that this is a step in the right direction to launch a program like this where 50,000 people, I'm assuming young people, get the opportunity to learn some skills or improve their skills so that they are better suited to do something for themselves? What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, ordinarily, this should be a good initiative. Right. Ordinarily, we have over
ordinarily,
yes, over 1.8 million individuals not employed in this country. 1.3 million of them are youth. So if the youth are going to be given skills to be able to gain employment, that should be a fine idea. But unfortunately, I think that this government is just trying hard to throw money, to places that should not necessarily go. Why am I saying that? We have the TVET centers across this country. You go and ask them. There are people who have been employed in the TVET institutions for over a year, some as far back as 2 years ago. They have not received their salaries. There are some of these TVET centers which has been established without equipment. There are some of these TVET centers which have been established that does not have the manpower or the personnel to train the student. You are creating this amorphous program to give skills to young people. What happens to the TVET institutions
but
that has been
that this is a competency-based program?
But that's exactly the reason why the TVET institutions were established in the first place. The TVET institution is the counterpart to the senior high schools. The senior high schools are academic. The TVET institutions are skills-based. Skills-based is the same as competency-based. Right. But we have these institutions there that are, you have not even paid their salaries. Why don't you give this 800 million Ghana cedis to these institutions? Do you remember USTAT? It was the same model that was envisaged, giving more than 10 billion or so Ghana cedis to do a USTAT, training young people to be able to access jobs and so on and so forth. What happens to it? We rather have to, in my view, have to give these resources to the existing institutions. Resource them, make them more competent, make them more able to train the young ones so that by the time they come out, they will be able to acquire the same skills that you are envisaging them to acquire. In that case, the workers, the employees of those institutions will be paid their salaries. In that case, those institutions will have the requisite tools that they will need to run the institutions. In that case, they will not run out of food for the students who are there. You will go inside this and you will see that it is all created for some political headlines. And you will go inside and you will see that the selections will be done skewed to some party executives and party agents. And then you go inside and you realize that it is a procurement project.
During the ministerial vetting of Dr. Hamidu, the minister designate for works and housing, he was of the opinion that training colleges and polytechnics should not be converted into universities because it defeats the very purpose of establishing a polytechnic. Is it in the same line of what you're saying, that we should keep the TVETs or the institutions that are already set to manage technical vocational training and skills and just focus on making them better as compared to launching a program like this? Is that what you're saying?
You see, the situation with the polytechnics is different.
Okay.
You have the universities that are academic. The polytechnics are giving skills like, I would say, competency based. So you can upgrade the institution and still they will run the models. After all, those who go to polytechnics also aim to go and do their masters.
But the polytechnics is supposed to give you a more refined, hands-on
experience.
Just like the TVETs
yes.
and the other vocational training institutions.
Yeah, but it's still different. Hands-on experience go up from, down from the secondary level to the university. So you can even go and do your master's and PhD in those areas. Okay. But this one, read the story well, you see that the creation is not an educational creation. It's a project that will select people, train them. It's like in vitro fertilization in women. You are taking the sperm of the man and taking the eggs of the woman out of their bodies and fertilizing them and then putting them back into the womb of the woman. And then artificial insemination and then making the baby out of it. If you have the resources, why don't you, if the man can fertilize the woman, why don't you allow the man to do and get the fertilization inside? In that case, it becomes simple without all the unnecessary costs that are associated with it.
Fair point. This is the Ghanaian Times. There's a story here that inflation declines marginally to 23.2%, according to the Statistical Service. Now, the country's year-on-year inflation declined to 23.2% in the month of February, this last month, by 23.5% recorded in January 2024. This represents a marginal drop of 0.3 percentage points relative to the previous months. So latest figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service shows that the month-on-month inflation between January and February was 1.6%. The government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim, presenting the data at the news conference, said the non-food inflation declined to 20.0% in February from 20.5% in January. So they're talking about inflation seeing a decline to 23.2%. That's according to the Ghana Statistical Service. I would say that I do not know for sure if this is reflecting in the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian. But what are your views on this?
I was going to ask you, because I'm sure you go to the markets. Somebody once said the best way to know and judge inflation is in your pocket. How does it reflect in your pockets? We are talking about price increases here. We're talking about the cost of doing business. And we're talking about planning our lives around our incomes. In a year, I understand government increased salaries by 30% for the whole year. Once the salaries have been increased, you have to wait for the next year before your salary is increased. Remember, inflation is not 23%, as you are saying, throughout the year. Like it is once it's 23%, it means that it will not increase again. It is cumulative. So if you have a country which has the best economist as the vice president, the person who is going to be the messiah to rescue us from wherever they thought we were to now, having 23% inflation, and you want us to celebrate you, then I will say that you have failed even in your own values. Because this 23% is this month. Next month, it may be the same 23%. Only if, let's say next month, it will be 20%. It's still not enough to take us away from the erosion in our salaries. If your salary, as you see today, if your salary is 10,000 Ghana cedis a month, and you have to wait till the end of the year or one whole year before your salary is reviewed, and you're always having 23% as inflation, what it means is that by the end of the year, your salary in actual value will be about maybe 4,000 Ghana cedis. Because every month, what you can afford or what you could afford with the 10,000, you can no longer afford with that 10,000.
But in a way, the figures seem like this is good for us because it's a decline.
It's a decline. It's a decline.
It's inflation.
But what do you want us to say? Do you want us to praise somebody? Is that what you are saying? You move us from you took us from single-digit inflation to 54%. And because we are stabilizing from that to 23, you want us to praise you. But who took us there?
The president did say during his address at the 6th March parade in Akufo-Addo that we are nearing the brink, or we are on the brink of an economic revolution. Things are about to get
economic
better. So
revolution.
we need to say this speaks to it.
If
we are experiencing a decline in the numbers, in the figures, inflation.
You see,
is that...
I don't get you, my sister. I don't get you. You had 4 years plus 4 years, making 8 years. You had an economic messiah who you presented to us as the best in this continent, on this continent. We had a president who told us that Ghana is going to move from taxation to industrialization, meaning that Ghana was going to make economic gains that we will not need to talk about inflation. So why are we talking about inflation now? You get my point. Why are we talking about inflation now when you said that you are moving us from taxation to industrialization? One district, one factory. Now, one village, one dam. Now, you came to power and you gave us one dugout, one whatever. Even the dugout that you gave us are dry during the dry season. The very reason why the dams were supposed to be created, you gave us dugouts that do not have water when we have the dry season, and then flat villages when there's rainfall. So the talk about inflation coming down, I don't get it, because we were single digits, and you are the one who took us to that 23% or 24% or 25%, whatever it is. So why do we celebrate you? We can't celebrate you. In fact, the president is trying to only do a PR work for his vice president, who is now their presidential candidate. That is all that he's trying to do. You see that all throughout, as the economy gets worse and worse, the vice president moves away from economy to digitization. That's what he's trying to do. And the president is trying to do a PR work for him by cleaning his tracks as he moves away from the economy. But we will hold him, the vice president, to his own economy. We will not allow him to go and talk about digitalization that was started way back by the Rawlings regime. You remember Bijawante na Mekasa? Bijawante na Mekasa was the introduction of mobile phone in this country. We started with analog, and then we went into GSM before coming to Android. These are all the evolution of digitalization in this country. Passport acquisition went live online during the John Mahama administration. You remember Hannah Tete, who was then the minister. So we will not allow the vice president to present himself as if he is the person who is involving digitization in this country. Right. He did not, and he has no idea about technology or digitalization. He should stick to the failings in the economy and own up. He should own up. Look, yesterday I heard you having an interview with a woman who was, I think the person who was being vetted, the deputy minister also who was being vetted, and it was asked a question, and he said that, look, it is a party decision. It was a political decision, and once I'm a part of the party, I take responsibility for whatever decision that the party took. That is what we expect the vice president to do. Okay. Rather than now touting himself as a driver's mate. When a driver is unable to operate the car and runs us to an accident, to a ditch,
that analogy has been dissected and bisected so much that I think everybody understands that you probably should have not said that. But I just wanted to add on the topic of inflation that the entire Africa has experienced a decline. Compared to 2023, that was like 18.7%. This year, 2024 so far, we are around 17-point-something%. So maybe that's what's reflecting in the figures that the Ghana Statistical Service is giving us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand all that you said, but we have to wrap up.
Okay.
So, thank you so much, Mr. James Kofan, NDC parliamentary candidate for Futu. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. This is how we're wrapping up for the news review. But coming up next is sports, AM Sports. Please stay with us.
Good morning, let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Harun Omwarak, and we start at the African Games where Ghana's men's beach volleyball team faced a challenging match in the quarterfinals and ultimately bowing out to Morocco in 2 straight sets. The Sunday court was not friendly with the players, and they now have to nurse blisters from the intense heat after playing without a protective sand socks. Seydou Ajanako is a member of the team and spoke to Joy Sports.
Had a surprise, random change of competition format. What was discussed at the technical meeting, in beach volleyball, technical meeting is a day before the tournament or 2 days before. And they agreed that we are using a simple format, that because it's 4 days, we are using top teams in each group, that's 6 groups, to advance to the playoff. But when we started the tournament, they changed the whole format. So our group, we were 3 in the group, so we played more matches, continued matches. But Morocco group was 2. So they played 2 matches and got a bye. They didn't even get more points than us after the first round. Because we were 3, we got 6 points. And they were 2, they got 4 points. And they got a bye. But we were the number 1 seed after the whole first round. So fatigue caused us to lose. We battled with against Algeria yesterday, 2-1. We won narrowly, 16-14. And then they scheduled us super early this morning. You know, they rested the whole day. But I'm not using it as an excuse. The excuse is if we had gotten a better preparation before. I mean, when the African Games was given to Ghana after Morocco closing ceremony, Ghana should have started camping us gradual. 3 months they break us, 3 months they break us. Gradual to the fourth year would have been far better. And also send us to other countries to play friendly matches. You know, all our toes are full of blisters because of the heat of the sun. We didn't get all these things, you know, so that can also affect you.
You didn't get what?
The sun socks. Yes. And then also in camp, right, and in the village, every treatments are going on all right, but that should have been before, during our preparation. We should have a massage therapist, nutritionist, and the others. It's all departments that come together to give the result. Yes. So we lacked some few things.
What explanation? Is it just the sun socks you did not have that you did not get?
Sun socks. Well, they gave us goggles.
I'm talking about the same items that you needed that were not provided. Is it just the sun socks?
Yes, just the sun socks.
Okay.
Yes.
What explanation was given for that?
I think that there's a shipment coming, and I don't know, it's delayed. Yes.
Now, the Ghana Volleyball Association has disassociated itself from comments made by Seydou Ajanako following Ghana's loss to Morocco. Elsewhere at the African Games, Zimbabwe triumphed over number 1 ranked South Africa to secure gold in the women's T20 cricket competition. They claimed victory in the Super Over, preserving their unbeaten record and securing the first ever gold medal. Razak Musbah watched the game and has this report.
Now, the maiden edition of the women's T20 cricket event in the African Games has finally come to an end. And, well, it ended all here at the Chimoto Cricket Oval with Nigeria, the very unfancy side. They came into this competition as the lowest ranked side, made it to the semi-finals, but got beaten by Zimbabwe. Live to fight another day for the bronze medal against Uganda. Big triumph. And it was celebration galore. Now, the big contest was between the first ranked African team and the second. I'm talking about South Africa and Zimbabwe. They are the finest cricketers on the continent, and they had to contest for the gold medal after over 2 hours of quality cricket, it was South Africa who lost to Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe managed to clinch the first ever gold medal in the women's T20 cricket event in the African Games. It is historic for them. And guess what? They won it in Super Over. That is exceptional when it comes to cricket. And it's been excitement galore. I got to speak to the coach of the Zimbabwe national team, and she says it has been training upon training, and they're excited about the future that holds for Zimbabwe women cricket.
This just to boost us our morale as we go to the qualifiers.
Amazing. How were you able to get this team to beat the #1 ranked team on the continent?
So we just told them, no, go and play your game. So that's exactly what they did.
What has been working for Zimbabwe women's cricket?
No, just taking each ball at a time. Simple as that. Playing simple cricket, basic.
What does the future hold for you now?
We hope to get there finally. We hope to qualify for the World Cup.
Amazing. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
So we've got for you here from the Ashimoto Cricket Grounds. Up next is the men's category, starting on Sunday. And of course, Team Ghana will be in action, and we will be here to bring you all the updates. Reporting from the Ashimoto Cricket Grounds, Razak Musbao for Joy Sports.
South African judo gold medalist Jasmine Martin is aiming at qualifying for the Olympic Games after her sterling performance in the finals of the women's 57-kilogram limit event. She used her weight and technique to overpower an aggressive Dabon Zuleiha of Ivory Coast to win the much-coveted gold at the Trust Sports Emporium. She spoke to Nathaniel Atto after the big win.
I do remember that your final was a very, very tough one. Your opponent was also very tough.
Yes. I know her for quite a while now. We fought in the past. It was the hardest fight today, and it was good. Yeah.
Great stuff. What has been your fight strategy throughout this tournament to get you up to this point?
I think mainly has been mentally. Like I've been trying to stay more focused. I normally get so nervous, so I just try to stay in the moment and enjoy every single moment of it. Yeah.
Great stuff there. Tell me about the journey from here. After this gold medal, what you want to do next?
So I have Antalya Grand Prix coming up, and it's in 2 weeks. It's an Olympic qualification tournament. So obviously I'm hoping to qualify for the Olympics. That's my main goal.
Great stuff there. And then what about the general organization, the competition, and Ghana? This is your first time in Ghana?
Yes, first time in Ghana, yeah. First time, well, so far I'm enjoying it. Apart from the heat, it's very, very hot. But apart from that, it's really nice country, yes. Yeah.
Great stuff there. Congratulations to you. And finally to all other aspiring judokas coming up, especially girls who want to go into judo. What will be your message of motivation for them?
Yes,
just in case they're having any doubts.
Yeah, never to give up and to just enjoy the moment and the journey, because it's a long one, it's a hard one, but if you enjoy it, it makes it so much better. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jasmine,
Thank
and
you.
congratulations. We're wishing you well for the Olympics as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there it is, Jasmine, the winner of the under 57 category for judo at the 13th edition of the African Games. More on the coverage of Joy Sports here from the games, and of course we're going to be bringing you some more conversations with the champions right here. Nathaniel Atto for Joy Sports.
Welcome back on the AM show. This is the big stories now, but our first conversation on the table is the issue of the Gadangbe lands that have been in circulation for a while between the Ghana Armed Forces and the the Association of La Community, La Associations. Also, we heard John Mahama on his recent tour of the Greater Accra region, and he was promising to set up a commitment to look into this. In the studio with me for this conversation is Jeffrey Tete, spokesperson for Coalition of La Associations. Jeffrey, good morning, and thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you.
Right, so let's get straight into it. We saw a press statement from both the Ghana Armed Forces and the Coalition of La Associations on this issue of the Galans. So just to establish some clarity for the conversation, let's get into the actual facts of the situation. We know that from the press releases that we've seen that there are two categories of lands involved. There's land that was acquired by the government for the Ghana Armed Forces, and there's land that was just occupied by the Ghana Armed Forces, which was not subject to the acquisition. Is this correct?
That's correct.
When did this happen?
Okay, so the lands were acquired during the colonial era. Okay, so we have the aerodrome acquisition, the anti-Amara aerodrome acquisition, and a whole lot of them. Looking at from the airport area all the way to where we call Chado now. But this particular land in contention is called the Plecho lands, and it's situated just around where the Major Mahama roundabout is. So, in fact, the military cemetery, from where the military cemetery is all the way to the Major Mahama roundabout, and then you turn towards the Air Force base, that stretch of land over there is the one in contention.
And when did when did the coalition petition the ministry to release some of the lands back to you?
Okay, so this has been ongoing for quite some time. I think it's taken about 15 years since we started this fight. And it's not just the coalition, it is the traditional council. We are just their sons and daughters who are more or less like the ones who go and come looking into these issues. But it's actually on the auspices of the traditional council. Now, the traditional council's argument is that there were lands that were acquired for specific purposes, and the law says that if those lands are not being used for the purpose for which it was acquired, it should revert back to the allodial owners, in this case, the traditional council. And then there are lands which does not or is not affected by any acquisition. Those ones are automatically for the La people. Okay, but the military over the years has tried to take over the entire stretch over there. Now, people are saying that the traditional authorities are saying that, okay, give us back the land that were acquired and are not being used for the purpose for which they were acquired, as well as take your hands off those ones which were not acquired. And these are arguments.
All these lands are in the airport east area?
Exactly.
The
Plecho area. We call the place Plecho. Sometimes the military churns out some falsehoods and they say it is Bema camp lands, but that is not Bema camp lands. When you go into history and you look at the records, we know exactly where Bema camp is. So that is not Bema camp lands. Okay, so there has been series of events, correspondence, and issues going up. We've gone to court. There's been several judgments on this particular land dating back to somewhere around 2013, thereabout, when the then Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine even stated that those lands are not military lands. It should be given to the La people. Now, fast forward a few years back, I think it's stated in this press release. Now, those lands, the then Minister for Lands, Honorable Asuma Cheme, okay, he looked at the entire 350 acres of land and said that, okay, he set up a committee actually, and the committee determined that 250 acres of those lands should be given to the La people and 75 be given to the military.
When did he say this and where, and who was present?
This was in November 2020. November 2020. Now, present were, in fact, there was a tripartite committee that was formed, made up of the Traditional Council, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and then the Ghana Armed Forces. So they worked over a period of time and came to that conclusion that 250 acres of those lands should be given to the La people, and then 75 acres should be given to the Ghana Armed Forces. So the military were part of that decision that was taken. Now, immediately after the elections in 2020.
Wait, let's take it step by step, because we are looking for clarity. This tripartite committee that you're talking about, that meeting, was it an agreement? Was that a conclusion of the meeting that 250 acres of the land should be given back to the people? And was the military, the representation of the Ghana Armed Forces, the representative for the Association of the STU, and the ministry, did you all conclude on this issue that this is the way forward?
Yes, that was the conclusion, and it was done.
Do you have documents to prove this?
In fact, there was at the end of their deliberations. Okay, there was a document that came out that said that the 250 acres has been given to the La people, and this document was signed by the minister, Honorable Asuma Cheme. Okay, so after that, the La people decided to go onto their portion of the land and then work on the land, and then the armed forces came in and using brute force, beat up people, including media personnel who were there to cover the event, because when the La people were going there, we decided to take the media there. We've been making noise over that for a long time. We've been calling press conferences, issuing statements. So it was fair that we bring back the media so they know that the land has been given to us. We even erected a signpost to thank the president. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving us our land. And the Ghana Armed Forces personnel came and then destroyed, they pulled down the image of the president on the billboard. They pulled it down. And it was serious. Now, fast forward, after they beat the people up, the issue came to the current Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, that's Honorable Abu Jinapo. We once met him at the Lands Ministry, at the Lands Commission. And that was where he decided that he was going to set up another committee because he didn't want to tie his hands with what his predecessor had done. So he decided to form a new committee. Now, the new committee was made up of the same groups, the Ghana Armed Forces, because they were stakeholders, the La Traditional Council, and then the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Now, they worked up to 2022, somewhere around August, and came to a conclusion. This time around, they gave the people of La only 114.52 acres. 114.52 acres.
Okay.
A huge reduction from 250. But the people of La took that in good faith because the argument was that the government, through the military, needed some more lands to, expand. And being good landlords, and we have given out lands to the government in previous administrations, even during the colonial era, we decided that, okay, if government is going to use the land for national purpose, we are going to give it out.
But what was your intended purpose for the land that you want to reclaim? Out of the 250 acres of land that was agreed to be returned to you, the 114, what was the intended purpose? What are you going to use those lands for?
We are these La people, and we have our traditional authorities. Whatever they want to use the land for, probably they want to do some investments that will benefit the people. Because you see, when you look at La, we've given out lands to government. I think we have contributed lands more than any other township in this country to national development. And if I want to stay from the South La Estates, from the Cantonment Estates, La Bonnie, University of Ghana, we talk about what was acquired for dairy farms, we talk about the trade fair, we talk about the Bema camp itself, a whole lot that we have given out. So we need this one to also use for some development purposes, which was intended to benefit our people.
And are you saying that you're only looking to get these lands back only because the government or the Ghana Armed Forces is not actually using it for anything? Or they use it, you just want it back?
These are bare lands, virgin lands.
Maybe
lands,
they train there. It's the military. They have their own...
They don't do anything. We know our forefathers used to cultivate okra and watermelon on those lands, And up till today, there are people there who still cultivate okra. There has been no construction there. The Armed Forces has done absolutely nothing there.
Are you saying these lands are close to the Armed Forces, the barracks, the Bema camp areas?
Bema camp.
Right?
Well, let me say it's not too far from Bema camp.
Right.
It's not too far from Bema camp, but
so there's a possibility that the lands are being used for some military purposes.
The lands are not being used, and our argument is that when you enter Bema camp itself, there are pockets of lands which are not being used. So if the military wants to use land, they have land enough land they can utilize within Bema camp. Now, our argument is even. Let me bring you back to why we issued this press statement. Now, somewhere last year, government had actually given La people a lease on that land, 114.52 acres. Government has granted us a lease. There's a letter from the presidency, there are correspondence from the Ghana Armed Forces to the La Traditional Council telling us that, yes, they acknowledge. In fact, there was a visit to the La Traditional Council by the military hierarchy, and present at that meeting, at that visit, was the Major General Ando, NP Ando, who was then the Chief of Staff. We also had Major General Oseusu, who is currently the Chief of Staff. We had Brigadier General Amu Abuachi, who was part of that tripartite committee that deliberated on the lands issue. And their visit to the Traditional Council was to acknowledge that the land belongs to the La people and that they wanted to see how we can work together, and then the La people will coexist with them. Right. That's why they came there. But After we went there to perform some customary rites to open the way for us to do our constructions there, the military 1 week later issued a statement and said that they are not aware that land has been given to us.
Hold on. Let's move step by step.
Okay.
Now, out of that 250 acres of land, you're saying that the military actually gave you back 114 acres.
It was government that gave us.
Government
the
gave it back, and they didn't contend over those
They did
lands.
not contend over it.
Great.
In fact, let me...
So what you're looking for, this reclamation ceremony that you conducted,
Yeah.
was it on the 114 acres of land or the entire 250 acres of land, which only 114 had been cleared for you?
We have admitted that government needed part of the land for the military use, so we accepted the 114.
Okay.
And so our customs we performed was on the 114 acres. We are not even asking for
the remaining...
yes. We took only the 114 acres. And even the 114 acres that's been given to, the military is still preventing us from going onto our land to work on it. Look, this is a letter from the office of the president, okay? It's dated 27th April 2022, addressed to the Honorable Minister, that's Minister of Lands, and it says, request for executive approval in respect of La Lands. I refer to your letter dated 21st March 2022 with reference number DB 95/110/02 in respect of the above subject matter. The President has granted approval for the taking of appropriate measures to release portions of the lands to the last two and to acquire other portions of the lands in accordance with the terms contained in the letter under reference. I shall be grateful if you could take requisite action on the above. It's signed by Nana Bidietu Asante.
Okay.
Okay, this is from the office of the president. Okay, and I mean, the president has given approval. Now, after that, the president has granted last two a lease on the 114 acres of land. You can see,
and that is where you performed your reclamation ceremony.
Okay. And now, after that, the military has sworn not to allow us, and they said that they are not aware, and they said that there is still ongoing negotiations.
They're saying that there's a committee that was set up. You're saying that after the clarity that was, you gained from reclamation, lands to be returned to you, lands that are not being used to be returned to the pre-acquisition owners, right? But after that, things changed when there was a change in leadership, right? When Abu assumed office.
Yes.
So there was obviously a new committee that was set up. And this new committee, according to the statements released by the Ghana Armed Forces, they've not concluded on this issue yet.
So this thing I gave to you is based on the work the new committee has done. And the new committee concluded their deliberations as far back as August 2022. So it is based on their recommendations that the 114 was released to us instead of 250. You understand? So they had concluded their work. Now, what the Ghana Armed Forces is doing is misleading their rank and file. They are misleading the general public, and they are lying to the people. And I've mentioned names of people who are involved. You can call their PR department and find out from them. If they are not aware of all these things, they are very much aware. But for whatever reasons we don't know, they are preventing the people of land.
But in your own statement, I believe that's a copy you have with you, you did acknowledge that it might be possible that there's still ongoing work by the committee. How do we tally those two?
No, it is not about ongoing work. After the work, the committee has sealed their work, it's been signed. The president has given approval, and actually a lease has been granted to the La people. Once the lease is granted, the committee has done their work.
But you acknowledge that there could be work ongoing.
What we said was that the military is still trying to convince the minister, for whatever reasons we don't know, to maybe stop us from taking our land. That is what we are talking about. But it's not about the committee doing its work. It's the military that is trying to use some backdoor approach to now maybe hold their minister to... And you see, Honorable Dominic Nitiwu, who is the Minister of Defense, is aware of this. When he took office, in fact, the coalition of associations visited him to deliberate with him over these issues. He's aware. He told us then that he knows that this land should belong to the La people. It belongs to the La people. So we are surprised that all of a sudden, he, as the minister, who has ultimate responsibility over the armed forces as the minister, is not saying anything about this issue.
Ghana, we live in a democracy.
Yes.
And the rule of law works.
Yes.
Where does the judiciary stand in all of this?
You see,
because this is between you, Coalition of Law Associations, and the Ghana Armed Forces.
All right.
Have you gone to court? Have you sought any judicial intervention?
So the reason why we are not going to court currently is that previously, under the Mahama administration, I mentioned Dominic Ayine, who was then the Deputy Attorney General. We had gone to court. The court had made a pronouncement that the land belongs to the La people. And then the military refused, even injunctions that
How did they refuse?
They are disrespecting the rule of law.
Okay.
It's the Ghana forces that's disrespecting the rule of law. And they have done everything possible to ensure that, you know, when you are going to serve them and you are entering the army barracks and they know you are a bailiff and they have guns and they prevent you, when we live in a democracy. So wherein lies the discipline we have known the military for? Where is it? They have not thrown the discipline we know them for into the gutters. And they are disrespecting every aspect of our democracy. Now they live in a banana state, so they do what they like. And we don't want it to get to that point. What they are doing now is going to breed chaos. That's exactly what they are doing. Because we want to coexist with the military peacefully. You understand? And we don't want a situation where we are going to have any tussle with anybody in uniform. They are supposed to protect us. In fact, by virtue of the fact that the military has their headquarters in La, we feel that we are the most secured people in this country. Bema camp within La, we are the most secured people. But you see, for us, we don't have the cocoa, we don't have the gold. All we have is our lands. And so if you are taking our lands from us, we see it like you are sucking the blood out of us. And that is where we are saying, I am a youth leader. I may restrain, I may try to make my people, prevent them from taking any action that would be against the law. But when I am asleep, I don't know what some of our people will do. And that's what we want to prevent. And so we are asking the president, as the commander-in-chief, to call his people to order. He has ultimate responsibility over the armed forces.
But he is not a judge. My question is, this is obviously something that should be resolved in court. Land disputes are resolved in court. If you're trying amicably and it's not working, and the military is saying that they're also committed to a peaceful resolution of this matter, what they take exception to, per their statement, is the premature announcement of these lands that you say you've reclaimed. So why don't you put this issue to court again after the first order or the first judgments have been you say it's been disrespect. They are disrespecting the order, right? Yes. So why don't you seek appeal? Why don't you go back and ensure that the rule of law is guiding how you actually navigate this issue?
I am saying that the court has made pronouncements before in the past and the army has refused to respect it.
So why don't you go back?
You go back and they will still disrespect. So now we are using the executive arm of government to talk to them. And that's how come a committee was set up and they participated in the deliberation. You see, that's where my pain is. They sat in the deliberations, participated throughout the deliberations, and this thing started way back in 2017. They sat through the deliberations all the way up till now.
Would you say you've been patient enough?
We've been too patient.
They are calling it premature.
We've been too patient, okay? And because we don't want our community to go up in flames, we don't want to take actions that would make us seem as being bad people, we continue to be patient and we are asking the appropriate authorities to take action. Because if those appropriate authorities do not take the necessary actions and anything untoward happens, who is to blame?
What are you calling appropriate action?
Appropriate action is to call the military to order and tell them that this land doesn't belong to you. We've given you, look, from 350, okay, we were giving 250. We were giving 75.
There's a remaining now, 138 or so.
Now, we've rather been giving 114, and the remainder of the 350 has been given to the military. You've gotten more than we have gotten, the rightful owners of the land. We have gotten less, and still you don't want to allow us have access to our land. This is too bad.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is that we have an executive president. So we want to use this forum to ask the president, as the commander-in-chief, we appeal to his office as the commander-in-chief. He can call the Minister of Defense, he can call the Chief of Defense Staff and tell them that I have used my executive powers to grant this list to the La people. Leave it and let them have their lands. Simple. So we are appealing to the president.
If this appeal is not heeded,
we will continue our agitations. And I'm sure, like I said, maybe I wouldn't want it that way, but it will be a recipe for chaos. Because when people start rising up, and it will not be just against the military, it will be against government, the government of the day, whichever government is in power at any point in time, it will be against them. We started our demonstrations in 2016 when President Mahama was in power. We've agitated over these same lands up till now. And yes, there's going to be an election. If no action is taken, we will continue our fight. The people of La are very resilient. We wouldn't stop. We are persistent too. We will continue to fight for this our land because, like I said, it is our bloodline. That is what our forebears bequeathed to us, and we are not going to let it go.
So I see one of two things happening. Either the president actually heeds your cry and says, take back your land because you are the pre-acquisition owners, or because the government actually has the rights to acquire lands for state purposes or national purposes. They could say they are reclaiming these lands, they are reacquiring these lands for government issues, for the Ghana Armed Forces. And then what do you do then?
So if you listen to the letter I read from the presidency.
I'm saying that this did not work. Courts did not work.
This is something that
you have a lease that they are not adhering to. You went to court, there was an order, there was a judgment. You said they are not adhering to that either. So what if this route that you're taking, asking the president to intervene, what if his way is saying that, well, hold on for a while. The Ghana Armed Forces still has use for this land, or these 250 or 136 acres of land. What then do you do?
So the argument still is, if the Ghana Armed Forces needs land for further development, there are pockets of land within Bema Camp and other places where they can use. When you go to, Bondase area, okay, they have large tracts of lands they can use. In any case, you see, by international convention, the military is not even supposed to be sited within civilian population. But it is only here you find a place like Bema Camp sitting right at the heart.
Is that not the reason why, for security purposes, that perhaps they are not disclosing what they intended, what they're actually using the land for?
We can still have security. Yeah. If the nation wants to protect the people of La, we can still have that security. If they want to protect the citizenry, we can still have that security. The police are there, and we can maintain some of the military people at their base. But we are not even saying that they should leave. What we are saying is that if they need land to further develop, they have pockets of land. In any case, when you go to Bema Camp now, we've gone from developing horizontal to vertical. So a small piece of land can be developed vertically, and they can have a lot of space in there.
Right.
So they should concentrate within Bema Camp, and then the remainder of the land that has been given to them at Plechu, and then leave the 114 acres of land for the people of La.
So that's all you're fighting for, the 114 acres, which is just a part of the original 250 acres that was given back to you. All right. We have to wrap this up, but I'm curious, when was the last time you had any kind of interaction with the military, with Ghana Armed Forces, aside this press statements that they released? When was your last encounter with them?
I think the last encounter was around either October or November, where the Traditional Council had a meeting with them at Bema Camp. Yes, that was then.
What was the outcome of that?
You see, they keep talking. They will tell you they will get back to you, and they never will. That's their modus operandi, and so they try to play the delay tactics. And you see, this land we are talking about, when first the government decided to give it to us under Asuma Chireme, immediately the military head, after they have been part of the deliberations, then they started some special developments within, just to cover up the land. So that's when they built something like a warehouse just close to the cemetery. They built some chalets. I don't know whether they are quarters. They built around the Air Force base. So they wanted to just build within the spaces and just to cover up the place. And that was when we raised alarms and stopped them. As we speak now,
I still maintain that the military cannot disclose the exact purposes of these lands or what they do with them to you.
So they were part of the team that did the demarcation. As we speak now, there are pillars there, and they were part of it. They wrote to us, and the letter is there. They wrote to us that they have set a date for us and their people to go and do the demarcation because they've acknowledged government has given the land to us. And I have the letter right here. Now we went with them, we mounted the pillars. This is for La. They were part of it. The pillars were mounted. The pillars are still there. Anybody can go and verify.
My final question to you. Do you think that they're refusing to give you back these lands for their own private use, or it's still for national purpose?
Well,
why do you think they're holding back?
Well,
do you think that they want to...
I don't want to say for private use. We know within the Chado area, there are some areas which were previously supposed to be part of this land, which has been occupied by some individuals. We know, okay? But we don't even want to go there because we've had issues with those things.
So the lands are being occupied by private individuals?
Not this particular 114 we are talking about. Okay. Not even part of the
ones that you're fighting
but
for.
they have previously occupied
acres of land.
Yes.
That you want back from
that
the
land is bare. It's bare. There's nothing going on there. It's bare. So we want them to leave the land for the La people. We give out land for national development. So if we need the land back, it should be given to us, especially those ones that were not part of the acquisition.
They were just occupied.
They were just occupied.
Any final words before?
Like I said, we are appealing to the office of the president to take action. That's what we are looking for.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey Tete, spokesperson for the coalition of La associations on the issue of the Ghana Armed Forces land disputes between them and the La Association. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll continue the big stories. Benjamin Akakpo's AM exclusive is standing by. We'll be right back.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this Thursday morning as we bring you our latest installment of AM Exclusive. And today we find ourselves in another home. Someone has been gracious enough to welcome us. I'll give you some clues. He's a physician by profession. He's a medical doctor. He's very outspoken. He's been in sports for a long time. When you think Accra Hearts of Oak, he's one of the names you will think of. And football, generally, in Ghana. Well, he's also a founding member of the NPP. I think that's the icing on the cake. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Nyaho Nyaho-Tamakloe. He's been gracious enough to welcome us into his abode this Thursday morning. Doc, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
For joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. It has been a while. I guess it's only fitting to start off with how you have been. I was teasing you when we got in that the older you get, the younger you look. What's your secret?
That reminds me of what President of the U.S. said recently. He was asked a similar question. His answer was straightforward, and I think I will answer the same way too. Day in and day out, I get more handsome.
I see.
So it all depends on how I look after myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the God factor? People have said that if you love God and if you reflect it in your daily life, it also impacts you. It shows spiritually. What is
spiritually?
Well,
I would not sort of deny that could be a factor, an important factor. But at the same time, as you as an individual looks after yourself, what you do to your physical body itself is very important. So that's the way I look at it.
And speaking of spirituality, I didn't mean to go here, but since it's come up, some people have asked, and I see your great-grandfather. Great-great-grandfather in there. What do you adhere to? Are you a traditionalist? Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? What are you?
Well, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
At the same time, I believe strongly in the roots I come from.
Right.
Strongly.
Right.
The old man you see there, that's the grandfather of my grandfather.
Right.
So it goes back quite long in history. I don't have to say much about him because a lot has been said about him, not just in this country, but outside the borders of this country. And I believe strongly in this tradition, the way he was a traditionalist, However, he was the same person who brought Roman Catholic Church to the Keta districts, all the way from Togo.
Interesting. He was Roman Catholic.
Exactly.
He was a traditionalist.
He was a
and he brought the
traditionalist.
Catholic Church into the community.
When he heard of the Roman Catholic Church being established somewhere in Togo in those days, he sent his own carriers. In those days, there were no vehicles. And they went and brought the people down to Keta. He gave them a land, which is there today, you can see. They built a school. They built a church, which is there till today.
Right.
And then they built a cemetery, which we call a churchyard, attached to this, to the church. And one interesting thing is that the whites wanted to find out what he would like to have in return. He said, I don't need anything, but make sure all my children go to this school free.
Oh, wow. What a wise choice. And they granted him that.
And that's how most of our people got educated very early.
And of course, the spin-off effect, because
Absolutely.
then generations down the line,
Absolutely.
you also benefited from that system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we celebrate him as well, your great-grandfather, and the wonderful great-great-grandfather, and the wonderful things he did in his life. Sometimes it's almost going back that far, great-great-grandfather, pardon me. But speaking of which, again, I just want to briefly, because we're talking about spirituality and all that, the National Cathedral, on the 6th of March, that was when? This year. We said we would have commissioned it and all of that. And it's still there, a big pit, nothing to show. And some of Ghana's taxpayers' money has been put in there, contrary to the promise that was given Ghanaians. How do you feel about that project?
If you will remember, the last interview I had with you, we spoke about that. And I said, it's unfortunate that state resources have been wasted on this. It's a waste. Nothing else, it's a waste.
It's a waste.
It's a waste.
If it's completed, it can still serve a touristic purpose.
When a government is in power, and that's the problem we face as Africans. Let's be very frank. And we fail to see our priorities. It shows clearly that we don't know where we are heading to. I mean, this is a nation in debt. This is a nation where the ordinary person take-home pay is less than $1. And you talk about National Cathedral. I mean, I can't understand it. Even to use it either as a policy or even your manifesto, or even as a private project, as the president told us from the word go.
But what if God had in fact told him to do this?
Exactly.
No, but what if God had in fact told him to do this, like he says?
We are all Christians. Unfortunately, we have around our political leaders religious people. And I believe strongly in practical religion.
Practical religion?
Yes.
Right. What exactly is that?
I mean, you do exactly what you preach. It's as simple as that.
Practice what
That's practical religion. And I must honestly stand up for Sheikh Sharabutu.
The national chief.
I am telling you, I have tremendous respect for that man. He's a pragmatist. You follow me? There are a lot of issues that have confronted this country, but for that man, there would have been disaster in this country. No one should joke about that. No one, no sane politician should take that as a joke. You promise people that you are going to build a cathedral. That's how the news came out initially. To honor God on certain promises that you have made to him.
Right.
Then it turned out to be a different story. By the time we realize state money is being pumped into it, look at the amount of money that has been pumped into that one. That can build a very complex 2 hospitals or anywhere in the country.
And now we're being told the cost has ballooned hugely, not even the $400+ million we were looking at, but a lot more, multiples of that now, if we're going to complete it.
And you know what is even more ridiculous is that throughout history, at least what I have read, I have not come across a cathedral that has been built within even 10 years.
Right.
So what's the point? What exactly are we trying to, or the president wants to tell us? I don't understand it.
Interesting dynamics in there, because of course the Notre Dame and others have been built over the centuries, and even when it was gutted with fire, it took quite a while before it could be brought back to its current state. But I'm also interested in something. I see these wonderful lights here and all of that. I need to ask, do you have a generator or a plant or something?
I have a generator.
You have a generator?
I have a generator.
Okay,
because
so
I was off the main distance. I just came back this morning.
Your lights went off?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
yesterday even twice.
Thank God our host has a generator. I had to ask that question because of the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
What would you call this power outage? Because the term doomsday has been used and it's been pushed back heavily, fiercely by government, by even the ECG boss. What would you call what we're experiencing?
Look, I at times get so sad when I look at certain issues facing this country. Dishonesty is one thing that's destroying this country. Leaders not being honest with the people they are leading. This so-called doomsday didn't start today. As far back as the time of Jerry John Rawlings,
indeed,
it started showing its ugly face.
Well, we're subsidizing electricity and later took it off.
Absolutely.
Right.
It got worse when Akufo came to power, when I was an ambassador in Serbia. I had a call because the messages went around so that areas that probably heavy machinery can be used to generate power. So I was called and I was briefed about that. It was that serious. You follow me? Then came Atamels. Atamels managed it somehow. Then came John Mahama. And I think he tackled the fundamentals. That's the real problem facing the country.
And things came to a head for about 3 years.
Yes.
We had this power
Problem.
situation.
You follow me? Then we took over. I'm talking about NPP. With the promises that we gave all along, everybody expected us to carry on very well. I don't want to go into so-called, agreement signed with companies. I don't have interest in that. But at least it is the duty of government to make sure that the citizenry are given power to work with.
Are they failing in that duty?
Of course, yes. Look at what is happening in the country now.
But they keep pushing back and saying it is not because we lack the finances. It's not because we lack the capacity. There are some challenges. ECG will tell you we're doing maintenance here and there. Others will tell you, oh, the IPPs, there are some disagreements, but we are working things out. ECG has to give them some money. I listened to the ECG boss recently, Mr. Apetogbo, the representative for the IPPs, was saying one thing. The ECG boss was also on another trajectory. At some point, they converged. But the point being that no one wants to take blame for where we are.
Just before you came in, I was watching TV3. And there's this lady who I respect a lot.
Right.
That's Madam Jantwa.
Right.
Look.
Of the CPP.
Of the CPP.
Right.
Her analysis was perfect. This morning, just about 15 minutes ago.
Right.
And I'll go back what she said.
Which was what?
Because she has been there before. He said we don't have money to buy fuel, gas, and other things. Full stop. No, that's why I keep on saying that if a leader is not honest with his people, he falls into this sort of traps. This government has not been honest with his people right from the word go.
But if you say that, you are then saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Mr. President, the first gentleman of the Republic, is dishonest. Is that what you're saying?
It's not being honest with the people of this country.
From day one?
From day one. Even right when he was being sworn in. You know it. You are a journalist.
Oh, are you referring to his speech?
Of course, yes. That should have alarmed us. Even though I've warned Ghanaians the days before that they shouldn't vote him in.
I remember that video.
Yes.
I remember.
That should have alarmed
But these are mistakes
a leader
that do happen. I mean, his
what?
speech was written for him. These are mistakes that do happen. How can you fault him for that?
What do you mean by they are mistakes that do happen?
I mean, once in a while,
a head of
there's a
state,
misquote.
a Ghanaian head of state. Even if a speech has been written for him, he should go through the speech.
But even the presidents of Harvard and others have been cited for some plagiarism here and there and other places. So many of them. You've seen them. I mean,
the president of Harvard, we are talking about. In fact, I think it's a lady, really. It's a lady.
Well,
it's a lady.
Gay is no longer another person.
Yeah, but it's another. But the lady you are talking about, if I read things clearly, she came out. Has our government done that? You see, these are the things. You see, when you have a system that right from the word go cannot operate well, you see it. At least I can see it. Right. And that is exactly what is happening now. We are completely saddled with corruption. Corruption has totally swallowed this country. Rule of law is completely absent. Ethnocentrism.
The rule of law is absent. Akufo-Addo, one of the things he's always touting is the rule of law. It is absent.
Don't confuse general rule of law,
right,
with parties' own protection. Parties' own protection is just like what Akufo did. We have the so-called militia. And remember what happened recently at that constituency, just behind me here. Look, to set up a militia, history has shown clearly that with time they will swallow you. Adolf Hitler did it. How did he end? Mussolini did it. How did he end? This man in Spain, General Franco, did it. How did he end? I mean, at least if you don't know it, let history teach you. You understand me?
You will be victimized. What do you make of free SHS?
I think I remember before Nana Addo became president, I think he had an interview with Al Jazeera, if I'm right.
I remember that interview.
And he spoke pretty well. And he made mention of this free HSS. Not just Al Jazeera, with BBC too, with BBC as well. And I think on the BBC program, the host pushed him to a corner. That how do you find this? What huge amounts of money will be involved. The man kept on pushing repeatedly. And Addo, as I know, was able to maneuver out of him. Now, free SHS has been in our constitution for years. In fact, it's one of the policies of the old man, Kwame Nkrumah himself.
Right.
But it is supposed to be done progressively. Right. It's there in black and white. Why didn't we go by that method? Of course, it's a huge political, agenda. That was used to gain votes, and we did get the votes from that, for that. But has it really served the people of this country, or it has worsened their situation? That's the question that we should ask ourselves.
What do you think?
I think it's a question that it has worsened their situation based on what your own findings are now.
But how about the other angle? People who ordinarily, maybe because of money constraints, monetary constraints, would not have been in school, are now getting to go to school, are now getting to actualize their dreams. Who knows what they could become? How about that side?
Have you been able, in your research recently, come out with few names that have been able to benefit from it.
But you can look
If
at the
you have
general,
not,
you,
then
you
you
can
should.
look at, you can look at the general enrollment, which has shot up by
No, general enrollment really doesn't.
No.
If you go by those figures, figures are. I don't take figures seriously in this country. I don't, because it's nothing than a bunch of lies.
You don't believe the figures?
I don't
put out
believe in
about
figures
the
in this.
increments in free SHS?
No.
But at least look
no.
at the fact that the schools are even struggling to contain them. That tells you
But
that the numbers
you came
are
out
bigger
with
than...
you came out with a beautiful point that children can not even be fed in schools. So what's the benefit? Don't tell me the benefit.
So should
when I was in secondary school, I was fed 3 times a day.
Right.
And even this University of Ghana you see there.
Yes.
Until quite recently, students were fed. There were even people standing behind them to attend them. That's why you have the halls there.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
Now, our time has been different from what it is today. You follow me? So you don't come out with promises you cannot really implement. And that is the problem with it. Both political parties, all politicians are behaving the same way in this country. You come out with promises. Look at even what we came out with. Dams promises, factories and whatnot. Where are they now? Where are they?
That's a good point. But just dwelling briefly on that point. So from where you sit then, would you say a review is in order for free SHS, or we should scrap it?
No, I won't say we should scrap it. I've told you earlier on that it's been in our constitution. It's still there. But it should be done progressively. And if we adopt that method, I think we shall get somewhere.
So we rushed headlong into it, and
exactly, that's what the point is.
You've also reminded me of something that is before the president, the LGBTQI plus bill. Parliament has gone ahead with it. It's now sitting before Mr. President. Initially, he said it hadn't reached his desk, but I'm sure you've heard of the other issues and even the finance ministry's input, where they say now, Abnao Sayasari, saying that it wasn't meant for public consumption. It was meant for the ministry and other communication, and it came out. What do you make of it? Traditionally, you have a firm stance, but you're also Christian and all of that. People say, we have our rights. Why should you interfere? What do you make of it?
Once again, I think I'll go back to the chief imam. His analysis on that particular issue, to me, must be accepted by everyone. Life, what we call production, can happen between a male and a female.
Right.
Nothing else. If you stop that, then the whole human race will be extinct. And if that is the way we want to go, then they can go. I don't care about it, honestly. I don't care about it. I want this to the problems I already have.
But there are countries that have legitimized.
No, those countries are
not. The countries are not empty, are they?
Look, it's unfortunate Nkrumah is no more. Because if Nkrumah were to be alive, I don't think they'll push such a program here. And we have countries in the Arab world. Have they been able to push this down their throats? America at times really surprises me. They talk of democracy and they do the other thing. You follow me? The ambassador here should have left this country long ago.
Virginia Palmer.
I'm telling you, she's interfering in the internal affairs of our country.
But as ambassador, she's meant. You've served as an ambassador.
Oh yes, I did. Yes.
I mean, you know what it means. You reflect your country's thinking in that country to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, but the Vienna Convention tells you you have a limit.
Has she crossed that limit?
Yeah, of course she has.
How?
No, don't ask me how. You know it. Look at the comments she made, even the threats. Right. Even the threats. This is a sovereign nation. If we choose to hang ourselves as a nation tomorrow, that is no business of ours. Why should you impose? I won't say it's the U.S. policy, that I have not heard yet, but other interest groups in America, all over the world, on a nation like Ghana, so and even to the extent of threatening us.
It's basically lobbying. I don't know about imposition, but you would look at American policy globally, and I agree with you, in the Gulf states and in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
They don't go down
Absolutely.
that trajectory. But she's also pointed to the fact that, look, you could incur losses by way of trade. It may be difficult to get some businesses
that is not a business
coming here. And our own finance ministry has said that we may not get some of the money we're expecting from the Bretton Woods institutions on the back of this. The World Bank threatened Uganda. I mean,
no, but even what came out of the finance ministry, the statement is so irresponsible, highly irresponsible, that a whole Ministry of Finance should come out with a statement that has just been made by a representative of a government in this country. I mean, it's pathetic. Are we really free? That's the question. And this, I kept on saying, are the points that should be raised seriously by journalists in this country.
So tell me, you ask, are we really free? Are you saying that our freedom as a people is on the line here in this situation?
It is. It is on the line. I mean, we've seen several instances. How can the U.S. come and set up a base here? I mean, how? Look at the clauses involved.
We can also go back to the Guantanamo.
Absolutely, just like Guantanamo.
2 or 3.
Exactly.
Who were in the country in the erstwhile administration.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, that tells you straight that this country has ceased to be an independent country. I mean, it's as simple as, you see, what worries me is that these are issues when we were young people just like you, myself, Kwesi Pratt, what do you call him, Nanado, Charles Broby, and these are the issues we have been trying to discuss and have them properly put in order. Should we get the chance of running this country? Now we have had the opportunity, and look at the mess we are creating. I can't believe it. I simply cannot believe that this will happen under the leadership of Nanado. I can't believe it.
But do you believe, so when the e-levy was in the picture, there was a challenge in court, but he went ahead to append his signature to the e-levy. But in this instance, even before we knew, because on the 4th, he was speaking to the diplomatic community and said they shouldn't worry and all of that, and someone had challenged the constitutionality of it in court. Actually, we only got that document dated the 5th day, as per the court's data. But somehow the president looked in a crystal ball and knew. Are you expecting him to sign this? And if he doesn't, what would be, maybe, let me use the word consequences?
No, but it has come out clearly. I think what I saw with my own eyes on 2 occasions, where he showed clearly that he is not in support with this particular practice. You follow me?
Right.
I remember where even members of the church and then even the leadership of the church clapped for him. I think it happened in Akropon area. You follow me?
I think it was the Anglican church.
As the Anglican church, where we were all relieved. Now, after that, when Parliament has now completely finished with the subject, and it's for him to append his signature, look at the statements that have been following. What is the point in getting the diplomatic corps on this particular issue and addressing them and reassuring them? So you see, when I say we are not independent, I'm really hitting on the right nail. This is not an independent country. We are not. We are not a country that people can just walk in. Look at how the Chinese come in here. The Chinese, they do anything they want to do with this country. Look at the state of our rivers. Recently, I learned somewhere, I think in the central region, where they can't even handle the water, the pollution now.
Right.
You follow me? I mean, these are things happening. We see them with our eyes. But we have leaders who are doing nothing about them.
Recently, we heard the story of a Chinese national who escaped from prison, and apparently
the
footage shows that he was assisted
by
prison's officers.
Yeah.
Maybe they may not have been in the know that he wanted to escape with his purported partner, but all of that is in there. Just a quick one, very briefly. Speaking of the finance ministry, you I think at a point you wanted Ken Ofori-Atta out.
Oh, yes.
He is out now. He's going to be special advisor, special investment, all of that. Dr. Amin is finance minister. Happy now?
I'm not happy. Amin's first statement threw him out of the stage.
Dr. Amin's first statement.
It tells you he himself is not his own person.
So who is?
He's not his own person.
Who's
Look,
pulling the strings?
What hurt me most about him, Ofori-Atta, I don't care whether he's a finance or whatever he is. But when we had a situation when about 80 plus members of parliament of my party decided that Ofori-Atta should go, then that was a serious move. I remember I spoke with their leader, Pierre Kube. I called him. I looked for his number, I called him and spoke with him. I said, look, that is a bold stand, but be careful you are not talked about it by the president. And what happened?
Right.
I mean, that Pierre Kube is there. I really don't know him. I've spoken with him on the phone. What happened? Exactly what I said what happened was what happened. Akufo-Addo just maneuvered, and that was the end of it. And we are still holding that position. Ofori-Atta is holding that position. What? But I have said in an interview earlier on that if Ofori-Atta is still there and Akufo-Addo can't move him out, then he's sitting on something that in future we shall all get to know, and we shall know.
I see. So, taking into context all of this, I asked you the first time I interviewed you, I'll ask you again. With everything you know, Akufo-Addo is in the twilight of his term. On a score of 1 to 10, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you score him?
I won't go with marks today. I would like to just enlist 1 or 2 points to you. If my memory could serve me right, in 1992, when we elected a party leader at the Great Hall, University of Ghana, Eduwahin, when we had giants in the party, B.J. Darocha was the national chair. I mean, people like Kwame Pianim, you follow me, Kwame Safuedu, may they rest in peace. What do you call it? Odwe Sais, Peter Lajite. I mean, these are giants. When you talk of politics in our tradition, and these are people who are disciplined. Look, we had the election without any problem. No monetization, no influence, nothing. Edu won. You follow me? And so they did follow with the subsequent one. What has happened recently? Our party has ceased to be a democratic party, and I will say that with emphasis.
Why?
Oh. Paul Afoko. You know about Paul Afoko?
Right.
You know about Kwabena Ajibom.
I know.
You know about
There's
Sami
suspension and everything.
The moment they were moved out of position, I knew that Akufo-Addo cannot handle this country. And it has followed. You know what happened after that? It put fear into our people. The party members
did not single-handedly do that. The party did it.
It wasn't done by the party. What are you talking about?
But it's the party machinery.
No. The party machinery coming out of a communique doesn't mean. But who was the party? These were the leaders of the party. And you have completely moved them out of the scene. So who's the party?
There.
You say what?
Reasons were cited.
What reasons? The reasons were false. They were false. They can come and challenge me. You follow me? Because after that, then anyone with an eye of a true politician will tell you that we are getting into trouble. Then fear got into our people. I'm talking about party members. People started towing the line. Some because of what they want to eat. Some because they are afraid. And you follow me? And that continued till today, that even after we have gone through all these difficult times, we have not been able to solve our biggest problem, corruption. You follow me?
Right.
So, which we promised the people of this country that we shall put a stop to it. It's been now the worst in the history of this country.
In terms of corruption.
Of course.
So Akufo-Addo has failed in the fight against corruption. Is that what
he's failed totally?
Right. Let me quickly run this by you. So the running mate, I mean, we have the flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia. He's now looking for a running mate. What do you make of that situation?
He has an uphill task.
An uphill task?
Absolutely. Because Bawumia, I know Bawumia well. You follow me? Myself and late Aliu Mahama handled Bawumia in the second running of the second term, attempt of Akufo-Addo. Akufo-Addo got me involved directly. He called me and talked to me about Bawumia. Bawumia is dead. He's not dead. Now, Bawumia is now in a tight corner. Tight corner because he is not number one himself.
Right.
Secondly, he has been put in a position that is not the wish of the majority of the party members. I mean, these are clear signs. But for the backing of Akufo-Addo with money, Bawumia couldn't have won that position.
But you don't know that for a fact. Can you say that?
I know that for a fact. Look, I've been in politics for years.
Where's your evidence?
You see, this sort of what's your evidence is what I dislike most.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't make these claims without
you can't make this claim.
Something.
Politics, you have to think ahead. You follow me?
Right.
Now, Bawumia, I can tell. I know he's a nice gentleman. But I would say he's in the wrong terrain.
Do you think he can beat John Mahama and Nana Jane?
Look, when his own party, that is my party, which I'm supposed to have been suspended from, has internal issues now. And they have serious internal issues, I know. For instance, he has no other option than to look at the Ashanti region.
Right.
No other option. I'm telling you this. But even that, will he be in position to decide that this is the person I want to go with? That's point number one. Point number two, the Ashanti region now is going to be divided into various sections. Alain Tremonte is going to have half of it. And I'm coming. NPP is going to hold half of it. And even within the NPP, there are divisions there. And of course, then DC has a slice there as well.
Right.
So you ask yourself, how strong shall we be? A region that has been our stronghold, are we going to be strong there? And also think about the mess we've created during these 8 years. People are no fools. People are no fools at all. They are going to. People are going to vote.
The NPP is going to lose the 2024 elections.
Look, any other results that will come will be what we term the stolen verdict, and it will bring problems to this country. You have no idea. Once again, I'm predicting.
And you've turned out to be a prophet once.
I'm not a prophet. I just study situations and come out with solutions.
You've prophesied.
I'm not a prophet.
I'd like to let us look at this very quickly. The 13th African Games is going on, and we've had issues from the lights going off at the Cape Coast Stadium during the Ghana-Ethiopia match to people not getting the right boot sizes to people not having equipment to poor performances. So many things. The local organizing committee, the sports ministry, they are in a mess and jumble. Put that side by side with the fact that we've spent over $200 million, about $240 million on this enterprise. What's your take?
I would say first and foremost, we have to account for that particular amount of money you just mentioned. $240 million US. That's a huge amount of money. That can do a lot to uplift the suffering, a lot to help the suffering masses of this country. At least basic things. Hospitals, drinking water, clean drinking water. We were given that responsibility 3 years ago. We couldn't. We asked for an extension, which we were given. I'm talking about the same program you are talking about.
Because it's actually 2023.
Absolutely. And even that, look at our performance. It tells you one thing. As I told a friend of mine some few days ago, it tells you that this nation is marching backwards. That's what it tells me.
As you give me your final words, I also want to incorporate into it. What do you think about former President Mahama's 24-hour economy? Do you feel he can make that comeback? He's spoken in recent times saying that if the fundamentals are weak, the reality of the lives of Ghanaians will expose you. Does he even have a right to be telling us this?
No, as a person, I think he has a right. However, I'm not an economist. How the 24-hour economy will work, if I say I have an idea about it, I'm telling lies.
Right.
I'm not an economist. And I don't want to go into that.
Okay. Final words?
Final words, as I told you the other day, the survival of this country depends on the journalists. I keep on telling you all the time, and you see that I will be proven right. Because journalism itself now has been polluted. The journalists we knew years ago, when it was even far from my sin, people like Cameron Dodo who speak their mind. We don't have them now. Journalists.
You feel journalists have been compromised?
Oh, are you asking me? You know it yourself.
I don't know. That's why
I have known journalists in this country for years, I'm telling you, so I know what I'm talking about. You follow me? I don't want to mention names.
Please don't.
Journalists I knew who were so tough and strong years past. Where are they now? They've all been compromised. With money, dirty money. If the money is clean money, I wouldn't mind. It's dirty money. Which those who stole it will have to account for it one day. And they will account for it. You will see.
Doc, we're grateful that you took the time. I think this time we'll have a fist bump.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Dr. Nyaho Nyaho-Tamakloe, he's a physician. He's a founding member of the NPP. He's been sharing his thoughts, and he's a man who follows sports, known for his affinity for Accra Hearts of Oak. This has been our interaction right from his home this beautiful Thursday morning on AM Exclusive. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back to the AM show. That was Benjamin Akakpo in a sit-down with Dr. Nyaho Nyaho-Tamakloe. Interesting conversation there, great perspectives. But let's pivot again here on the AM show and let's talk about a breakfast meeting, a joint collaboration between Stanbic and Graphic Communications. In the studio to do this conversation is Boahina Samoa, who's editor of Graphic Business, and Franklin Soa, Director of Marketing and Sales at Graphic Group Communications Limited. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you. Here. Thank you very much.
Right. So this breakfast meeting is a quarterly meeting that's joint collaboration between Stanbic and Graphic Communications. What's the theme or the essence of, let's start from the intention behind this breakfast meeting.
So thank you very much. And we are excited that once again, this partnership is bringing together the graphic business, Stanbic breakfast meeting. Like you rightly said, this is a quarterly event that happens every quarter. And the emphasis is basically to highlight salient developments relevant to business, relevant to economy, relevant to nation, and see how best we can bring experts together to share their perspectives, to share their experiences, to share the understanding of the various issues that we earmark per quarter.
Okay.
And then based on that, we more or less put together a report that is highlighting various challenges, that is highlighting various successes, and that is sharing some perspectives into proposals or recommendations to deliver better value per the various subject areas that we focus on.
Who are the recipients of this proposal? After the meeting, you put together documents.
Sure.
Who benefits from this document?
So it generally goes to the policymakers, goes to regulators, goes to industry players.
Okay.
So when policies are being reformed, policies are being drawn and all that, they have some of these things to inform the direction.
Right. Mr. Samuel, so the choice of theme this year is in tourism. Why that choice of a theme?
I think if you look around the world globally, countries are trying to reposition themselves. I mean, the reason why most people go to Dubai is because they have deserts and they have tried to package that desert as a tourism attraction.
Something beautiful. Yeah.
It is nothing new, really. You see, the whole concept about tourism, or the whole concept of the World Cup of Qatar 2023, was just a big global tourism attraction. And we have known in this country over the years that tourism really plays a key revenue driver for governments. And for tourism in particular, it has a direct micro impact to the people. Unlike the other revenue streams we get from gold and oil and then probably cocoa, which government manages it. This one is direct because when the tourists come, they log into a hotel, they go to Cape Coast Castle, they buy artifacts from Art Center. So that has a direct impact on the economy. And we have seen how that particular impact can grow. I mean, if you look at the figures that government shared with what they did with the year of return,
You're right.
3.3 billion cities, $1 billion. Here we are going to World Bank for how much money?
Yeah.
That's the point. So the point is that we realize the potential of tourism, how to take it to the next step. And I must say, we must praise the current government or whoever is in charge of tourism, Akufo-Addo and his team, for the good job they've done in that area. The year of return, 30 December, I mean, the Western region thing, these are very, very popular beyond the return. And we are all feeling the impact of it. And if you go to the local economy, you see the impact those things make. How to take it to the next level, to the global level, in the scale of what the Qatarians did with the World Cup, is what we are trying to look at.
Okay, so the subject matter obviously is important and cannot be overemphasized.
Absolutely.
So who is going to help you get into the intricate issues of this matter? Who are your key spokespersons, or who is on your panel for this meeting? Mr. Soa.
Yeah. So the theme for this particular, so it's a quarterly thing. So the theme for this quarter is tourism, the golden egg, a shared responsibility.
Okay.
And usually we tease out various aspects or perspectives from this theme, so we get experts to talk about it. So the first person from the regulator side will be speaking on the transformative potential of tourism in the global context. Okay. That will, we have the GTA CEO, Mr. Akufo-Addo, to handle that on the panel. And then we have the tourism value chain and its role in boosting rural livelihoods. Okay. That will be handled by the CEO, MD of Labadi Beach Hotel as an industry player to share the industry player's perspective. And then finally, we have innovative policies and taxes to enhance the tourism sector. And we have a tax expert, a senior partner, Abeku Jankwansa from PwC, to also give various proposals and recommendations that may be relevant to boosting that sector. Like Asamoah just said, you'd realize that it's a sector that has a huge potential, and from strategic perspective, it's important that policymakers understand things that will inure to the benefit of the players, i.e. Investors, we who patronize the activities and all that. So what can we do differently? It is said that, for instance, hotel rates are very expensive in Ghana.
Yes.
It is said
ridiculously
that access to some of these places are difficult. Why can't we come up with policies that will make some of these players invest in some of these things? So access routes are great, tax regimes are conducive, then the eventual cost to the consumer is relatively better. Okay. So we can patronize these things as domestic tourism people, and of course our international tourists will also come in and they add to the kitty.
Okay, now tourism is not the preserve or reserve of policymakers. It's the grassroots, the actual population that benefits mostly from these things. Are your target clients or target audience only policymakers, or do you have a plan to incorporate the ordinary Ghanaian into this discussion and how they can also benefit from these things, Mr. Samoa?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's why we are doing this. It's part of it. I mean, your platform is also giving us the opportunity to reach out to these people as well, and we are also streaming live on our channels as well. Of course, we cannot accommodate everybody at Labadi Beach on that day. So those channels are also an opportunity. And of course, being here is to further promote it and tell people that, look, you can log on to this and then listen and then get educated on this one. It's a process. It's not an event. You cannot just say this is one thing that we're going to do. It's a process. And one thing I want to highlight is that our platform actually has been the bedrock for which policy has formulated. Okay. So you will recollect last year, we held the first event on the post-DDEP project. Yes. And you realize that out of that came the idea of an investor protection plan, which government is working on. So the platform we are working on actually has been the base for which policies are formulated, or we use that platform to what? Bring around policymakers so that we can channel some of these ideas to them, and then we can see. Over the years, it's been so. I mean, it's been so back to back to back to back, and we are hoping that the same results will come out from this particular one we are going to hold there.
All right, so let's get into the details of the event. Yeah. When is it happening? Where is it happening? What time? And what should we expect, aside the intellectual conversations that will be taking place?
So the event is next week, Tuesday, the 19th. It's at Labadi Beach Hotel. Okay. It starts from 7:30 in the morning. It will be live on Joy News as well. And so, and like someone mentioned, on all our social media handles, Daily Graphic, Daily Graphic, and then the Stambik platforms as well. Okay. It's strictly by invitation for in-person, but because it's a hybrid event, everybody else joins online. Okay. And we believe strongly that people will have you have the opportunity to actually share your thoughts ahead on all our social media handles as well. So if you have any thoughts, you have any suggestions, you have any queries, or need additional information, just share it ahead. We will get the experts to respond to some of these things during the session. And of course, in graphic business, every Tuesday, there will be updates on this. Daily Graphic, the business pages would have updates on this for some time. Like Asuma said, this is not an event, it's a process. So for some time, we'll be spending a bit of our inventory on tourism drive, tourism growth, tourism progression, touching on all the salient areas of the industry to make sure that the value that the industry stands to bring to our nation and our economy, we all achieve that.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Franklin Sowa, who is the Director for Marketing and Sales at Graphic Communications Limited, and Mr. Boahina Samoa, who's Editor of Graphic Business. And this is the Stambik Bank Graphic Business Breakfast Meeting, quarterly meeting, and this time it's on tourism. Thank you so much for doing this. I think it's commendable, and I'm looking forward to see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
All right. But stay with us. There's still more to come on the AM show. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's talk about colorectal cancer. A few days ago, I saw reports from Carlos Coloni on how colorectal cancer is deadly and unchecked can cause fatal issues to our life. On Zoom with me this morning to get into the nitty-gritties of this topic is Professor Jonathan Dakubo. He's a senior lecturer and consultant surgeon at University of Ghana Medical School. Doc, if you can hear me, good morning to you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show with us.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
Right. So can you start briefly by telling us what colorectal cancer really is and why it's important that we create awareness about this kind of cancer?
Yeah, colorectal cancer refers to cancers that affect the large bowel, that is the whole of the colon and the rectum. They are a diverse group of cancers, but one of them is dominant. It is the third leading cancer worldwide and causes a lot of mortality. It is a cancer that is very curable when it is diagnosed in an early stage. But unfortunately, many people, because of lack of awareness, present with an advanced disease when there is not much that can be done to save their lives, and we lose them. So it's an important cancer because a lot of lives are lost needlessly because of it.
Right. So how common is this cancer, and what age groups are at most risk of getting this disease? How common is it in Ghana? Okay.
Worldwide, about 1.8 million new cases of this cancer are diagnosed every year, and about 900,000 people die of this cancer every year. In Ghana and sub-Saharan Africa, where we don't have accurate figures, it has been estimated that the new cases that we see every year is anything between 2 and 4 per 100,000 population. That translates to about 1,500 to 3,000 new cases every year, and between 800 and 1,500 people die of this cancer every year in Ghana here.
So how does this cancer develop then?
Yeah, the cancer develops from gene mutations, and it is one cancer that will develop after at least 5 genes have mutated. So it is not that easy for the cancer to develop. All the same, it does develop. When the initial genes are mutated, a polyp forms, an adenoma, and this adenoma is not a cancer. It has to accumulate other mutations that will convert it into a cancer and develop further mutations that will give it the ability to spread. So with this sequence of events, what it means is that if we can screen people early and find the polyps and remove them, the cancer will not develop. What it also means is that if we are able to diagnose the cancer at an early stage, possibly the mutations that confer spread, metastasis may not have taken place, in which case we'll be in the position to cure our patients.
Aside early detection or early screening, what other factors can we look at in terms of reducing our risks of colorectal cancer?
Yes, as I said, it is a tumor that affects the colon. Actually is not an essential organ. We can live without it, but we still need it to form feces, to store the feces and bring it out. We live in symbiosis with bacteria in the large bowel that help to keep us healthy, and that is very important. We don't know what exactly causes colorectal cancer in many people, except a few people in whom we know it is hereditary. They have inherited a gene mutation from their parents, and then they accumulate other gene mutations to the cancer. Their risk is higher. But in many people, we say they have sporadic cancer. We don't know what causes the cancer, but we know risk factors that increase people's chances of developing the cancer. And the first is our diet. Diets that are poor in fiber, diets that are rich in red meats, that are rich in processed foods, increase our risk of developing colorectal cancer. What these diets do is that they reduce the transit time. People are constipated, carcinogens built in their colon for a very long period of time, and that allows these cancers to develop. The other risk factor is our exercise level.
Okay. Did you say diets that are rich in fiber reduce or increase your risks?
No. No, diets that are low in fiber.
Low in
our
fiber.
risk
Okay.
in fiber. And diets that are high.
I think we are having some internet challenge with Professor Jonathan Dakubo. Hello, Prof. You were clarifying that diets rich in fiber are not, do not increase your risk of getting colorectal cancer. Please proceed from where you are. You have to unmute, Doc. Prof. Professor Dakubo, if you're still with me,
Hello,
please
are you hearing
unmute.
me?
Good, okay.
Yes, I am saying that diets that are low in fiber increase our risk.
Right. Okay, that's clear.
So we encourage people to eat high fiber diets. Diets that are high in red meat increase our risk of developing colorectal cancer. So we should be eating more of white meat, that is chicken and fish. We should exercise a lot so that we can break down the excess energy that we take in. These things will reduce our risk of colorectal cancers. Another important aspect is processed food, like processed meats. These meats are preserved with nitrites.
Like sausages, you mean?
Yeah, or even the meat we buy from the cold stores. They are preserved with nitrites. And to increase the shelf life and freshness of these meats, sometimes the amount of nitrite inside is increased. When nitrites are subjected to heat, they are turned into nitrosamines, and these nitrosamines are cancerogenic. So it's advisable we eat our own bread, poultry, our own bread, beef and mutton, pork, and the freshly harvested fish from the sea or from the river. These will also reduce our risk of developing colorectal cancer.
All right. So if you are actually diagnosed with colorectal cancer, what treatment options are available?
The treatments for colorectal cancer are fourfold. One is surgery, which is central. The second is chemotherapy. The third is radiotherapy. And the fourth is what we call targeted or molecular treatments for advanced cancer.
Are any of these treatments fatal? Any risk associated with any of these 4 treatments available?
Certainly. All of them. Surgery has its own risk of complications that can develop after the surgery, or even mortalities that can occur during or after the surgery. Chemotherapy has its own side effects, which can be very serious. Radiotherapy has its own side effects, and the targeted treatment has its own side effects. Now, the chemotherapy that is given, there are chemicals that are going to destroy the cancer cells. And the cancer cells are cells that develop from the human body. So once you are destroying the cancer cells, other cells that are rapidly dividing, like the lining of tubular structures in the body, the bone marrow, which is very rapidly dividing, they are suppressed. The cells are also being killed. So we have complications that are attended by the use of chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
Are there any misconceptions about this colorectal cancer that you'd like to address?
Yes, because of the low awareness of the disease, its presentation, and how grave it is, people have the earlier symptoms of this disease and they wish them away. noticing blood in one's stool, which is becoming persistent or repetitive, is an earlier sign that a cancer in the large bowel would have developed. But because hemorrhoids, that's cocoa, is a commoner disease that presents with bleeding, and many people from age 30 will bleed once in a while from their hemorrhoids, they will attribute the bleeding of a cancer that has developed to their bleeding, which is due to their hemorrhoids or cocoa. And that is where the danger is. So people misinterpret bleeding from the cancer as bleeding from their hemorrhoids. And they will wait until the other symptoms of constipation, of diarrhea, of weight loss, of bloating, and etc. to set in before they come for diagnosis. At that time, the disease is advanced.
Right. Thank you, Doc, for that insightful, shedding light on colorectal cancer. Any final words or takeaways you want to share before we wrap it up?
Yes, March is the Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month all over. It has been set aside by the World Health Organization. And we are making our little effort starting from this year to create awareness in colorectal cancer diagnosis and treatment. So we are saying that anybody who is 45 years and above, anyone who has noticed blood in the stool, and anybody who has a family history of any cancer at all should try to do a colonoscopy. The colonoscopy is done once every 5 years if no disease is found in the colon at the index colonoscopy. If we have to screen everybody for colon cancers, we should be able to pick the polyps early, remove them, and stop the development of the disease. So we're encouraging everybody to try to do a colonoscopy once every 5 years.
Well, thank you, Professor Jonathan Dakubu, who's a senior lecturer and consultant surgeon at the University of Ghana Medical School. Thank you so much for shedding light on colorectal cancer and the risk associated and how citizens can stay safe or screen early to prevent the fatalities associated with this disease. Thank you.
Thank you, too.
But that's not all. The final leg of our show today, we're going to engage some Pojoba people, gentlemen. They have this legacy project going on. The 2000-year group of Pope Jones Senior High School is working on a number of projects on campus. I'll let them tell you all about it themselves. Here we have Dasebre Godswe Agbodo, who's a member of Pojoba 2000. That's 2000 year. And Dasebre Kofi Sapong, who's a member of the project committee of Pojoba 2000. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you. I like how traditional you both look in your smock.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're both Dasebre. Is that a term you use to address someone who's passed out from Pojoba?
You're a Pojoba, so when we call you Pojoba, you respond
Dasebre. Oh, okay. So Pojoba.
Dasebre.
Thank you. Tell me about this project you've got going on.
Okay, so basically we are from the 2000-year group, and next year we'll be 25 years out of school. So, and in thinking about what we can do for our alma mater, we decided that we'll pursue this legacy project. The legacy project came about because we realized that education has changed and it's more about hard skills, acquiring hard skills in school. And then we also thought that when we add the soft skills, it will make the students a whole-rounded education for them, experience for them. So we decided to embark on this legacy project, which would is a legacy project on innovation and incubation. So it has
Basically, it's basically an incubator that we're putting together to push the STEM. That we know government is already pushing STEM program, that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and now they've added other alphabets. Let's not even go there. But we have added innovation, and we are making sure that the value there is not just going to research into this, bring out this idea, but at the end of the day, our graduates, the younger Pujuba who are coming out should be able to come with some kind of skill which is marketable. It's not just about, oh, it's a beautiful idea, then we leave it there. No. How can we even turn that thing into a viable business venture for some of these people?
So it's a program for Pujuba students currently?
Not just Pujuba students.
Okay.
It is a project. The project is supposed to build a 2-story building, which is going to cost us in the region of about 3.6 million Ghana cedis. And
this facility you want to build
is going to be on campus.
Okay.
Then we've finished it with all the necessary IT and other state-of-the-art equipment that is supposed to help us.
So it's going to have an incubation center.
Okay.
It's going to have a conference center. It's going to have a digital library, e-library. It's going to have an art center for artists and all that. It's going to have a career guidance and counseling unit. So we're also looking at coaching, mentorship, and then all the...
So these facilities currently do not exist on Pujuba?
No.
It exists.
Okay.
There's some career guidance and counseling units.
Okay.
But we want to be intentional about it. We want to be scientific about it.
Okay.
So putting the sciences around it, that's what has led us to this incubation.
How do you intend to fund this project?
Okay, funding basically is going to come from Pujuba 2000 year group. Then we extend it to other year groups within the Pujuba fraternity.
Okay.
We are also looking at donor agencies who can come in to support. Look at private businesses around and see what they can also do to support this project. It's not about Pujuba. It's about helping Ghana get the best of education, the little way. I mean, the little way we can as Pujuba. We believe that if we had had that opportunity whilst we were in school 25 years ago, most of us should become big businessmen.
Not you are a big businessman.
No,
if you can afford to build a story building for your school.
That's what we want.
That's what we want to do. But the current generation, we need the Elon Musk, we need the Mark Zuckerberg, we need creative innovators to take the country to the next
level.
level.
Nichols,
yes,
the Oprah Winfrey.
Exactly. And we believe that this legacy project is a pathway, is a gateway to achieving that. It's very, very important because when students are learning, they don't have mentorship, they don't have coaching, and the tendency for them to veer off and not learn from what their predecessors, the mistakes they've made, would be very fatal. So we think that this is a very, very, very important project we need to undertake, and we entreat all stakeholders to be part of it. So we are reaching out to corporate institutions and like-minded institutions who believe in the youth and their ability to dream and harness that dream, to join us, partner us, and let's bring this to fruition. Once it takes off and people see that it's a real project, good project to support, I think we can replicate it around and then make education very dynamic.
How long? What timelines have you given yourself? That's beautiful. So that's what you're trying to build.
Exactly.
That's what you have on your screen today. It's beautiful.
Exactly.
Okay. So aside this project, this building project, this innovation project, how else are you marking your 25 years?
This weekend we're actually going to cut sword for this project.
We're going to break ground.
Have you started putting anything down together? Do you have a foundation? Do you have a piece of land? Okay.
What we are going to do now is to break grounds for work to commence in a way.
Okay.
We have some of our colleagues who have promised to come in with good sum of money for us to start a project there and there. We believe that in the next 3 years, we should be done with this. I mean, all things be equal, in the next 3 years, we should be done with this.
That's ambitious,
yes,
but doable.
Yes, yes. We are very determined to cause it to happen. And we believe that, as my brother said, as Kofi said, we are calling on all Pujumba across the length and breadth of this country, outside the country. We know you have what it takes to make a change. This is what we want to do for our alma mater. They must come to support. I know Pujumba,
we never they give up.
People, they
Yes, we did. And to add to what Godfrey said, it's not only about Pojoba. We are also calling on like-minded corporate organizations to support this worthy and noble cause. And we believe that by supporting this cause, it will go a long way to change the face of education in this country.
Approximately how much are you looking at?
We are looking at about 3.6 million Ghana cedis.
Yes. 3.6 million.
Yes.
How much do you have now?
Oh, we've raised a considerable sum, at least.
You don't want to make public yet.
Why not? Well, if the public know that you only have, say, 1% of your total, then
can we
they will...
that when we are launching our anniversary so that we let them know?
We are breaking ground this weekend, so we'll make it known. But we have a considerable amount to start. We are looking for more funds. At this juncture, I think we want to thank some corporate institutions that have helped. I think
those who've helped you raise whatever funds you have right now.
Bank of Africa, Senior Kobianda has been very helpful. CDH, Mr. Sarkodie, has also been very helpful. Individuals have been helpful. I think our colleague MPs in Parliament have also been helpful.
The likes of Ojo Nkrumah, who used to be with Multimedia, Minister of Works and Housing.
Now, and then Honorable MP for Doma East, Paul Chuma. They are actually our classmates.
Yes,
we are hoping to have a third this year in Parliament. That's Professor Titus Bayo, who has also been very, very helpful.
He used to be the Secretary General for Ghana Medical Association.
Yes.
Titus Bayo.
Yes. So we want to thank all and sundry who have also contributed their widow's mites to this project.
Right.
And we are encouraging that more should. We are encouraging more.
I'm sure there are some popular Pojo Dasebre, or Pojo Ma, who you'd like to call on personally to let them know that your eyes are on them to bring in some fact check to make this a reality. Which such popular people do you?
I would want to tell Kojo that the amount Kojo Nkrumah that the amount he promised is too small, so he has to double it. Then Paul Berryman has already said he's coming in, so Lamushas, what's his name? Henry Osei. We are waiting for Olenu Joel.
Yes, and we're also looking at Dr. Maneboama and Dr. Pesa White.
Dr. Pesa Bright.
Yes, and then Mr. Gomado, the CFO for Vodafone Group.
Okay.
Yes, and
all
then
right.
all and sundry.
I wish you the very best. Dasebre Godsway Agbodo, who's a member of the Pojoba class of 2000, and Dasebre Kofi Sapong, member of the project committee for Pojoba 2000. But before we wrap this, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And I wish you the very best, on this ambitious project.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see it in 3 years.
Can we say one quick thing?
Sure.
We forgot to
just
acknowledge
in a
the
minute.
good works of our president, our year group president, Kojo Asare. He's done tremendously well with his executives. We say kudos, keep the good work up.
Right.
Great work.
All right. Thank you. But before we go, I'd like to share our condolences to the family of KK Kabobo, aka Watado. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Sweetie Abochi, and Akosia Kanga made my outfit. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you. We're back on your screens tomorrow, Benjamin and I, and when we come, we will share our proverbs with you. Please stay for News Desk.